Donald Trump has secured a trade deal of sorts with China. And from this, the markets have rebounded. They are now higher, or at least some of them are higher than before the tariffs went into play. It's fascinating watching the Reddit stocks community. A viral post saying, you guys are all wrong. You live in an echo chamber. Everybody was claiming the markets would be down for decades, several generations. Who knows how long it'll take to recover from Trump's chaos? It was like a couple weeks, and the markets have completely recovered. Now, even CNN has called this a victory, which I gotta admit surprised me. So this is great news for everybody's 401ks and Donald Trump in general, because even with the market recovering, Trump is saying this deal is going to keep a 34% tariff on Chinese-made goods generally. So he's getting his tariffs, just not 145%. We'll talk about that, but we also have DHS threatening to arrest members of Congress. They posted a video, I kid you not, of it. It's kind of grainy, but a member of Congress closed fist punches a federal agent. Not kidding. We'll play the tape. I played it earlier. And now there are currently riots happening outside a New Jersey facility once again because the Democrats rally on this kind of violence and crime. Needless to say, they are insurrectionists. And then we'll talk about the current state of the Democratic Party. They're saying AOC may be running for president. That's right.
Please.
That's right. All right, everybody, before we get started, make sure you go to castbrew.com and buy some delicious coffee. We got a bunch of different flavors. We got Ian's Graphene Dream. Everybody loves that one. We got a little bit left. Sells like hotcakes. Low acidity coffee, Appalachian Nights, of course, everybody's favorite. But we also got a bunch of different, we got medium roasts. We got light roasts. We got Phil's 2 weeks till Christmas gingerbread.
It's
Focus,
delicious.
It is good. Focus with Mr. Bocus. We got Luck of the Seamus. Look at that Freedom Tunes bag. These are collector's items. I'm telling you, you got to get them. Alex Stein's Primetime Grind 2 times caffeine is officially done. There will not be any more of this ever. So if you got a bag when you did, keep it because it's never going to come back. Don't forget to also go to timcast.com, click join us and become a member. Why? We're gearing up for our second Culture War live event. The first one went tremendous. It was tremendous. We've got, here it is on rumble.com/TimPool. You can watch the Culture War live 2-hour show. And the current idea for the second Culture War live event, Libs v. Cons trivia game. So we're looking into getting some buzzers, some scoreboards and points. We're going to do a bunch of general questions ranging from everything. But it's going to be largely news, politics, culture, and history. History is going to be an important one. And we're going to have things like, which famous president said this? And we'll give quotes. And then you got to answer the questions. Who do you think will win? Liberals or conservatives? Well, if you want to come, it's going to be a members-only event. So go to timcast.com, click join us, get in the Discord server, and you can hang out with tens of thousands of like-minded individuals and call in to our members-only uncensored show, which is here on rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Now, that show is Rumble Premium. When you sign up for Rumble Premium, you get access to everybody. You get Mug Club, you get Dr. Disrespect, you get a little bit of everything. So make sure you sign up there using promo code TIM10. Don't forget to smash the like button. Share the show right now with everyone you know. I want to give a tremendous shout out to all of you who watch because last week we were the #1 news podcast, live news show, and we were on average around the 3rd biggest live show in general in the country. We even took the top spot one day, I think it was Wednesday. Technically, a live stream beat us. It was Pope Watch, but it wasn't a show. So we were the top show. And I really am grateful to all of you who do watch and who share it with your friends and help the show grow. It means a lot to me. Again, smash that like button. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Emily Austin.
Hello.
Who are you? What do you do?
Who am I? Wow. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. No, I'm joking.
Every day.
I'm a sports broadcaster. That's how I started out in my short career. I'm 23. Crazy. And I never considered myself like a political person in general until I got afraid that I thought Biden had a shot of winning this election, pre-Kamala days. And I was like, you know what? Let me become a bit more vocal. I have a large audience, largely non-political, which was important to me to speak up. And I was mostly like sports fans, boxing, NBA, basketball, whatever. And when I started to speak up about Trump, I noticed like that cancel culture everyone spoke about coming from my throat. So I doubled down on my political commentary, got fired from everything. How fun. But, one door closes, a bigger one opens. And now I find myself still doing the sports in a bigger and better dream job I never thought I could achieve. And now I still get to do the political commentary. So I get the best of both worlds.
Right on. Well, thanks for that. Should be fun. We got Shane hanging out.
What's up? I am Shane Cashman, host of Inverted World Live. Last night, the show turned 1 year old. Wow. And it was a fun show. We talked about how the government might be creating serial killers, and how my new theory is that maybe they astroturf true crime to divert people from knowing that the government's actually the real Ted Bundy.
Have you guys been tracking the solar storm power outages?
I not on the show, but I just saw the story about what happened in Europe,
in
Portugal,
London?
Or I saw the Portugal one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, London. London lost power
real.
to the underground, and it could just be sometimes the power goes out, but these are widespread power outages, so everyone's kind of freaking out.
Is that what happened in Newark today? Newark, the airport, had a power outage.
What?
Wait, you guys didn't hear about it? It's all
Well, I know that Newark's
It was
radar
breaking
is
news.
failing.
Oh, well, their system apparently is so old that they need to slow down the input of data so that it can process it. This is like 2025.
Let's talk about the solar storm. We'll get into it a
At
little
least the
bit.
government has Mount Weather. They'll be fine.
I don't know if the solar storm. So I'll give you the quick gist because I don't want to. We'll save it for the show. But there's been a handful of solar storms, and then coincidentally, we've also seen major power outages, like we saw in Spain, Puerto Rico. Now the London Underground went down, and this is a substantial power outage. Wow. Some people think, and this could be totally wrong. It's just online talk that the magnetosphere may be weakening, and the government may be prepping for something like this. There's a lot to talk about in that regard. But anyway, Shane's here. Phil's here too.
My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
Here's a story from CNN. I can't believe I'm going to read this headline. How Trump managed to get his much-needed China trade victory.
Incredible that is a CNN headline.
I just want to make sure you guys can see this. CNN.com, right there at the top. CNN Business, and they called it a victory. Maybe they're realizing they can't sustain themselves off of anti-Trump vitriol, and so they're going to actually try and move over a little bit.
The best thing they have going for them is Scott Jennings. The
know.
Republican on the network is keeping them afloat.
It's crazy. All of their viral clips are him.
I know.
They have no relevance outside of him, and they fired Ryan Gerdusky, which also he was helping contribute to their virality.
For being hilarious.
He didn't even say anything. Anyway.
It was funny. I laughed.
Indeed. So here's a story from New York Times. U.S. and China agree to temporarily slash tariffs in bid to defuse the trade war. The White House backed off from the steepest levies as the cost of an all-out trade war with China threatened global economic growth. While CNN says Trump got his much-needed China trade victory, CNBC says China sees the U.S. trade deal as a huge win for Beijing.
Yeah.
Well, of course they would. That's called making a deal. Both sides are like, we're satisfied with these terms. We kind of got what we wanted. Now, one of the most interesting things about this is we had this tweet from Charlie Kirk. Scott Bessent revealed that China basically ignored the trade agreements negotiated by Trump because they knew Joe Biden was weak and wouldn't enforce the terms. So let me break this down for you. Liberals across the border saying Trump got nothing, he's backtracking. And I'm like, well, that's overly simplistic. I think it's fair to say perhaps Trump wanted more and he got what he got, but he did. There's currently between 10 and 34%. There's two different reports on this. One I've seen from the press saying a 34% general tariff is remaining, is reciprocal. But I've also seen a statement from the White House saying that they're going to pause that for 90 days down to 10%.
Yeah.
Either way, that 10% universal tariff was not there before, be it 10 or 34%. So Trump big asked a tariff on China. He said 145, everybody loses their mind. Then he walks it back and it goes down to such a degree that that the liberals are saying he's backtracked and given up. That's a win for Trump. The markets have rebounded. If Trump came out and said, we're going to do a 34% tariff on China, just that was it, the market would take a hit. Liberals would lose their minds. In this instance, by going way up and then coming down, he secured tariffs. Now, the other interesting thing is the heavy hand, I think, may have been because of this. Check the statement out from Scott Bessent.
What has to happen is it has to be fair for the American people. But in January 2020, President Trump produced a template. We had an excellent trade agreement with China, and the Biden administration chose not to enforce it. The Chinese delegation basically told us that once President Biden came into office, they just ignored their obligations. So, we all already have a large framework. The other thing to remember here, Jonathan, is that this is a pause down to 10%. The April 2nd level for China is 34%. So we will be working to see where their final reciprocal number ends up. And the negotiations are a combination of tariffs, non-tariff trade barriers, currency manipulation, and subsidies of labor and capital.
So what did Trump get? Well, the heavy hand says to China, we will be enforcing your obligations to us, not like the Biden administration. And there's a tariff in place, and the market has recovered. Take a look at this up at the top of the screen. The Dow is at 42,410. S&P is at 5,844. That's a 2.81 increase in the Dow, a 3.26% increase in the S&P, and Nasdaq's up 4.35. In fact, one report saying that S&P is actually higher than it was before the tariffs went into place. So that is a recovery in the market. CNN's calling it a victory. He did it, guys.
Well, I mean, it clearly is some kind of positive for the Trump administration. There are people that were, 2 weeks ago or a week ago screaming that this is the end, the tariffs were going to be the end of the economy and everything was going to be super expensive and, no one's going to be able to afford anything. But that's kind of, that kind of comes with the territory when it comes to the way the media portrays Donald Trump. It is notable that CNN is actually claiming that this is a victory because everyone knows how this media treats him.
Even
CNN especially.
An economist I like a lot, Thomas Sowell, was saying these were apocalyptic tariffs.
Yeah.
And he was
Everybody
saying
was.
not a good idea.
Everyone's so dramatic.
Well, free market, like free trade people, like Thomas Sowell and stuff. He's. I don't think that he's actually an Austrian, but he leans towards the free market kind of ideas. And if you're a free market guy, tariffs are considered a bad thing, and from not just for Austrians, but just free market people overall. So it makes sense that Sowell was saying that stuff, but at the same time, I think that there are too many people that were expecting this to be the kind of the end of the road as opposed to treating it like a negotiating tool. And clearly it was just a negotiating tool.
What's so mind-boggling to me, and what's done is done. You can't go back in time, but I don't know how more people are not so frustrated with the fact that Biden just let our country get so taken advantage of. And it's like, I'm humiliated as an American that travels overseas and abroad. And the fact that he's like, yeah, we had a pretty good plan in place and Biden just let all the other countries take advantage of us. You can't blame them.
To your point, though, but China made it very clear when the Biden administration met with them in Alaska. They straight up said, you are not in a position of power here. And that was because of the people. Yeah, to Blinken. That was because of the individuals. It wasn't because of the United States. There's some kind of significant difference between today and 4 years ago. It was because they had no respect for Blinken or Joe Biden and his administration.
Here's my conspiracy theory. It's it's 2020, and Trump is sitting there being like, everything's going really great. This is pre-COVID. And he was like, but people don't understand because they have no frame of reference to how great things really are. So he cuts a deal with the Democrats saying, you guys take the next 4 years and just burn it all to the ground. That way, when I come back, people will really appreciate what we have to offer.
I don't think Trump
I'm joking, by the way. I don't think that actually happened.
No, but on a serious note, I don't think Trump could have won this election unless the country got as far extreme woke as it did. And the reason it was so easy to take advantage of Biden is because he was too busy worrying about people's pronouns and
not being alive.
He was dead.
Yeah, he was worried about not dying every day of his life.
I don't think he was worried about much. He was more so worried about if he was going to make it to the bathroom in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not trying to be mean to an old man, but kind of.
It was elderly abuse. The fact that his family let that happen for so long, it's like, as frustrated as I am with the tariffs, if I were any of these prime ministers or presidents, I would have done exactly the same. He belonged in hospice, not in the White House.
The rest of the world loved it.
I know.
Did you guys see him on The View?
I didn't
recently,
understand what he said.
Yeah.
The new clone's all right.
The new clone is all right.
I couldn't understand most of what he said, honestly.
So I didn't see it. I heard clips, but it was really bad. And Jill did a lot of
I was just going to say, Jill speaks for him. When he starts to fumble and stuff, she's like, I'm going to step in now. And
it was like the debate with Trump, where it's like he starts a sentence semi-articulate. And
Here you go. You guys ready? It's just a shame we're playing clips of Biden again, but this matters.
It's funny.
The projects, the benefits. How do you lead the world without having the best infrastructure in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best healthcare in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best education system in the world? How do you lead the world when you don't have
Do you know what I thought of the moment? So Tate was like, here, I got some clips for you. And he showed me this. And then I was like, it reminds me of Bruce Almighty. You know the scene where Bruce is standing off the side and Steve Carell at the anchor desk and he goes,
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought of. Like, let me play that again for you. This guy was president.
The projects, the benefits. How do you lead the world without having the best infrastructure in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best healthcare in the world? How do you lead the world without having the best education system in the world? How do you...
The nihilist in me is laughing, going.
Sounds like he's talking.
Every
with a bunch
single
of marbles.
clip I've ever seen of The View has been against my will. Like, I've never once voluntarily went to go find the clip of The View. I swear, if it wasn't for Republicans just bashing them, I don't know if a soul would be watching it besides, like,
Have you ever seen Alex Jones on The View? It's one of the best moments.
Oh yeah.
When was he on The
Well,
View?
to be fair, I think Norm Macdonald was better.
It's equal, but Norm's is great. Norm's is great because he's talking about the Clintons, and so I guess is Alex Jones.
What was he saying? Like Bill Clinton killed a guy?
Yeah.
And they're like, stop! Don't say that. And they're like, what do you mean?
Thought you were a funny guy, Norm.
And he was like, I thought everybody knew Bill Clinton killed a guy.
Oh,
Oh
rest
my
in
God.
peace.
Wait, see that? Maybe I'll go voluntarily watch.
Alex Jones was on to defend his friend Charlie Sheen. At the time, it was the Tiger Blood controversy.
How long ago was this?
1,000 years ago. I don't remember.
It's
it was
so
a long,
crazy that
long time
Alex
ago.
Jones on The View.
Great. It's a
Yeah.
great clip. Yeah.
We're talking about the same Alex Jones, like the
Yeah.
unhinged
Oh, yeah.
conspiracy theorist, like
Unhinged. Well, he's ripped now. Have you seen him lately?
unhinged.
What?
Not
No.
physically, mentally.
He's
I no.
hinged.
I'm
He's
saying.
hinged.
I'm,
He's hinged, Emily.
No. I'm. You know, he's got some good points, but he gets crazy out there.
He's the
But
one
I'm
who brought
saying,
Kanye on with the little jellyfish.
yeah. I'm just pointing out that he's like jacked now. Like Alex, congratulations, man.
Congrats, now he's just mentally unstable.
The way people looked at Alex Jones pre Sandy Hook and post Sandy Hook was different because the way that the media portrayed him and the way they dragged his name through the mud and blamed him for essentially, for the shooting and for what happened, which is the most
They
ridiculous thing.
blamed him for the shooting?
In court he owes $1 billion. $1 billion.
To be fair, the plaintiffs were requesting the GDP of France.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's not a joke. They wanted something like
Literally.
$2 trillion.
Literally.
It was the biggest.
There are people who believe he is the shooter. Like there's people who think he did it.
Crazy, insane.
All he did was question things. And he apologized later. I don't think he should have, but he did.
You shouldn't apologize just for
Definitely shouldn't have apologized, but people blame him.
Yeah.
No, what he said I thought was so insensitive, but for him to be the shooter? Oh
But the reason that people look at Alex Jones the way they do today is because of what the media did to him in 2012, 13, 14. In that time period.
Is that when the shooting was?
It was in 2012. It was the
Yeah,
very end of
Obama was
2012.
president, right?
I
Yeah.
remember it I was 11 then. How do I remember it? I guess it was so traumatizing.
I remember I bought rifles right afterwards. I was like, they're going to come after rifles. So I called up a buddy of mine.
My pistol recently, Glock 43X.
Nice.
I remember I was eating a cheeseburger in Brooklyn.
Nice. Where?
I was in New York.
It's a
as well.
it was a burger joint called Action Burger. I think they still exist. That place is amazing, by the way.
I hate
I think we
Brooklyn.
were on tour
I
with
detest.
Machine Head and
Yeah, I think it still exists. Wow, that's crazy. They still around? That's so cool.
There's no lack
If
of
you
burger.
guys are in New York, go to Action Burger. Sci-fi comic book burger restaurant.
Oh, that's
That
cool.
sounds cool.
Yeah. And they make a milkshake where they put the oatmeal cream pie cookie right in it and blend it up.
my
And you
God.
gain like 20 pounds just by looking at it.
Wow.
I had
know
I don't know.
what?
I don't know if they still do that,
Worth
but they
it.
did that when I was there.
I had
And I used to
pizza
get
this
them all the
weekend.
time.
I felt like a fatty. Now I'm like.
I just want to say I like how we went from the View to this.
Yeah.
So quickly. We went through a lot.
We're talking
of
about
things.
fatties.
This
It's
is good.
very comparable.
Good
to the
Americana,
View.
right?
Yeah, there you
here.
go. Fatties.
Fatties.
Yeah, there you go.
Fat
We can
old women.
let's jump to this next story. I love this story so much. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. celebrates Trump's move to slash medicine prices. Quote, I never thought that this would happen in my lifetime. We finally have a president who's willing to stand up for the American people. RFK Jr. is a liberal guy. He is head of HHS, and with Donald Trump, they have signed an executive order to drop the prices of drugs. This is not a price control. Okay, the Democrats are coming out and they're saying, I thought price controls were communist.
Oh my God! How do you find something bad to say about saving people's?
Everything. Okay, let's start over. Kamala Harris was talking about controlling the prices of groceries at the grocery store because she was accusing them of price gouging. Okay, their margins are like 1%. Trump is telling RFK Kennedy Jr. to basically negotiate with pharmaceutical companies as to what Medicare and Medicaid will be willing to pay. He's basically saying, go tell them we ain't paying these outrageous costs anymore and force them to reduce the prices. And if they don't, tell them we're going to pay them less. We're going to pay them the same rate, than the country that gets the cheapest rate gets. That's basically where it is. Let me play this clip of RFK Jr.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I love him.
Just a little bit.
This is an extraordinary day. This is an issue that, I grew up in the Democratic Party, and every major Democratic leader for 20 years has been making this promise to the American people. This was the fulcrum of Bernie Sanders' runs for presidency, that he was going to eliminate this discrepancy between Europe and the United States. But as it turns out, none of them were doing it. It's one of these promises that politicians make to their constituents, knowing that they'll never have to do it. And the reason they'll never have to do it is because they know that Congress is controlled in so many ways by the pharmaceutical industry. There's at least one pharmaceutical lobbyist for every congressman, every senator in Capitol Hill, and every member of the Supreme Court. By some estimates, 3. Pharmaceutical companies, the industry itself spends 3 times what the next largest lobbyist spends on lobbying. So this was this was an issue that people talked about, but nobody wanted to do anything because it was radioactive. They knew you couldn't get it by Congress. We now have a president who is a man of his word, who has the courage. President Trump was taking money from the pharmaceutical industry too. I think they gave you $100 million.
When he
He
so
can't be
funny.
bought, unlike most of the politicians in this country. And he is standing here for the American people. I don't know.
So I just want to say, this is what I love about Trump. And I want to make sure all of the fake woke liberals hear this. I have never been a laissez-faire, me personally, I don't know about you guys, a laissez-faire capitalist, libertarian, free market, let the pharmaceutical companies charge whatever they want for whatever drug they get. I wouldn't call myself a communist where I think we give away all the drugs for free. I just think that there is a serious problem when we, the American people, are footing the bill on all of their profit margins and R&D, and they're giving away these drugs and the IP to foreign countries at dirt costs.
Exactly.
But you know why they do it? Because other countries tell them no. The other countries say, we'll buy your drug, but there's no way you're charging our people that much. That's nuts.
Well, it's okay. They had Biden who tolerated it, so they thought it would still. It goes back to the first topic we discussed. It's just us being taken advantage of. Just like if you're liberal and you find a problem with this, think about it like this. Imagine you paid $150,000 for a car in America, but then you found out everyone in London's been buying the same car for $40,000. Wouldn't you be pissed that all your money is being thrown to the garbage for no reason and you're not being treated fairly? Think about who put you in that predicament. Biden.
Now, let's make it so that you die if you don't have the car.
Right, exactly. I put it in fluffy and unicorn terms.
I want to say this. So it's not a price control. He's telling RFK, he's basically saying we're not going to pay this much anymore. And he's telling these private companies that negotiate with Medicare and Medicaid, we are officially going to cut you off unless you drop these prices. That is within the purview of the president to do. Now, the fascinating thing is, one, liberals are attacking it as price controls, saying I thought it was communist. Why? Just literally come out and say, thank you, Mr. President. I don't understand.
Never.
Because they're bad people.
Over their dead body.
Because they're bad people.
Indeed. Yeah. There was very little Biden did that I thought was good, but I will give him credit for when he wanted to stop ATM fees that destroy largely lower class and middle class individuals. They get these overdraft fees and they end up racking up $200-300 and they put themselves in a permanent negative. And I said, that's a good thing. It's not the most impactful thing in the world, but I thought it was good. Then you add, I think it was AOC and Anna Paulina Luna, I'm not sure, recently.
Yeah.
Trying to get rid of like these super high credit card interest rates and stuff like this, like dealing with that or capping it.
I heard it was disastrous.
I also thought that was good. The libertarians are apoplectic. They're like, no.
That one,
this is not a price control.
I have a problem with, but go ahead.
The credit card thing?
Pushback on that.
Yeah, the cost of loaning of borrowing money, that's just a price. The cost, and when you have a non-collateralized loan, which is what credit cards are, they have no way to get their money back. And if you give people that have that are high risk, if you give them low interest rates, they're going to go ahead and
I disagree.
Take advantage.
I see this as if you are a bank and you want a non-collateralized loan at a high interest rate and you get screwed over, Cry me a river. Stop choosing to give money to people who can't pay you back. And then what happens is there are people who get credit cards at 7%, but there's a little tiny clause hidden at the bottom where it's like once you cross the 50% credit threshold, they jack your interest rate up to 30%. And people are told when they sign up that they're getting at 7%. So I am fine with regulating things like this. And if that puts the burden on the credit card companies, then the credit card company can choose not to give people credit cards.
That's also true.
They're targeting people and they're giving this stuff out. So I will agree. I will agree. It's a nuanced issue.
Yeah.
My point is Trump is doing something Democrats should be jumping up and down and cheering for. They should be popping champagne. Instead, they're mad.
This is the war on drugs I support. A week ago today, these two guys also stopped federally funding gain of function.
Yep.
Like, these are two things I'm into. The gain of function, big time. That was a big win.
It's just fascinating how RFK Jr. it's like all of his dreams are coming true.
And it's
I
Donald
was
Trump that's doing
worried.
it.
I was very, very worried for him that all of these clandestine forces in big pharma would somehow frame him to just have not woken up one day, and because there's so many forces working against him, because unfortunately way too many people profit off of illness, especially in America. I mean, number one, obesity, heart disease. Like, it's scary how our leading stats are not in math and science but in like health issues, because everyone's rich off of it.
Keep in mind, this is an executive order, so Congress still has to make this permanent, and that's where the real long shot
It'll
is.
be very telling who's bought.
Because they're all bought when it comes to pharma stuff, but that'll be like, that's really where you'll see the fight. There's going to be all kinds of lobbyists going after Congress, trying to prevent them from making this permanent. Because honestly, like, pharma companies can be like, all right, look, we don't make a big stink about this. Keep it kind of quiet and work on your representatives, the guys make the phone calls you can, and they can basically keep it out of the public eye. Or I imagine that the tactic will be keep this out of the public eye, work behind the scenes, work on your representatives that blah blah blah. But don't make a stink about this, and we'll deal with a year or 2 or 3 or whatever of not making the same profits, but we'll get it back in the end because another president's going to come in. There's a lot of people in a lot of industries that are going to look at Donald Trump and the things that he does in executive orders, and they're going to say, well, this sucks for us now, but the next administration will make it right. So it's incumbent on the American people to get in touch with their Congress people and tell them, look, you guys haven't done a damn thing. There have been 5 bills that Donald Trump has signed so far, right? In his term, and it's because no bills of any consequence have gotten to his desk because Congress isn't doing anything. Congress has to make these things that Donald Trump
midterms.
They have to do it
Before campaign season.
True, yeah.
They have to do it ASAP. They have to do it this year. But the American people need to call their representatives and be like, if you don't produce legislation, we're gonna make sure you get primaried. We're gonna get you out of office.
I think the challenge that we have is Democrats have extra seats in Congress because of illegal immigrants. And so right now there's a 2-seat majority for the Republicans. It should actually be a 12-seat majority, meaning they should have way more room for big change. But Democrats in California, Illinois, Washington, New York, etc., they allow illegal immigrants in. The illegal immigrants get counted on the census, and then they get extra congressional seats. This needs to end. And I don't know how they do it at the federal level. It can be done at the state level. If people in the states start voting, there's a lot of things we can do if people pay attention to their local politics. But I do think with Trump's mass deportation, 2030 is going to drop like a hammer on the Democratic Party. Right now, due to internal migration, state to state, they're saying that California, Illinois, they're going to be, I don't know. I know California, I'm not sure which other states. They're going to be losing congressional seats and electoral college votes because people are fleeing those states. They're not calculating Trump's mass deportations and the self-deportation. So if Trump ends up getting, let's say, 1 million people out of California, it's a lot of people, but let's say he actually does, they're going to lose potentially 2 congressional seats just off that alone, not to mention the normal net out migration. So now they're projecting Democrats, even if Kamala won Michigan and Pennsylvania in 2024, she would have lost to Trump based on the new census projected for 2030. Add in Trump's deportations, and it'll be wild. But that being said, if in 2028 the Democrats win the presidency, They will flood this country with more people than you could believe possible.
The UAE real estate's looking good right now.
They say that 2021 to 25, Biden's term, was one of the largest human migrations in the history of humanity. They say it rivals that of partition.
Wow.
Imagine what's going to happen in 2028 with Democrats knowing they will never win again. If they win in 2028, they are going to open the borders and they are going to bring every single person they can.
It's been the plan for ages. That's what the whole, the refugee resettlement program with HHS was. And it's great that, Kennedy's the Secretary of Health and Human Services and that he ended those programs. I believe he's ended those programs. But that was, we've talked about that a bunch on this show. They were bringing people in. There were NGOs helping to get people to the border. As soon as people got to the border, HHS was transferring them all over the country. And remember, this is something that the Democrats were swearing up and down was make-believe, that it was all made up. It wasn't true. They weren't doing this. Come to find out, there was an actual government program run by the Health and Human Services. It was called the Refugee Resettlement Program, and they were shipping people that were here. They were illegal because they didn't actually qualify for asylum, but they were asylum seekers. They were shipping them all over the country, a lot to purple states because they wanted to change the makeup of the states.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
What do you mean it was make believe? We funded them. They had 5-star hotels. They had cell phones. We paid their groceries. We basically welcomed them with the most open arms. We're like, hey, take a check too. Why not? We're
They
already
took over
funding
entire hotels in New York City.
I remember. And then half of them were flashing gang signs at the news.
Some of them
making their presence very felt and known.
One of these individuals was arrested in a shooting in Times Square. Remember that one?
When you were
Remember
there?
the guy that was arrested?
New Year's Day?
No. I mean, there was a shooting there New Year's Day when I was there.
Yeah.
But no, several months ago in Times Square, there was a shooting.
And then didn't he rob a Macy's a couple of weeks later and then was arrested
I don't
again?
know.
Was that the guy that flipped off the police officer?
No. That
He was arrested twice.
That was a different guy.
Another illegal immigrant.
Let's jump to this story from NPR. Episcopal Church refuses to resettle white Afrikaners, citing moral opposition. Oh boy. So Donald Trump's bringing in refugees from South Africa. I say based. That is the right thing to do. And I know the liberals are screaming, hypocrite, hypocrite. That's because they're not smart enough to read the news. And I'll explain exactly why these people deserve to get asylum. They say, in a striking move that ends a nearly 4 decades old relationship between the federal government and the Episcopal Church, the denomination announced on Monday that it is terminating its partnership with the government to resettle refugees, citing moral opposition to resettling white Afrikaners from South Africa who have been classified as refugees by President Trump's administration. In a letter sent to members of the church, the most Reverend Sean W. Rowe, the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, said that 2 weeks ago, the government informed Episcopal Migration Ministries that under the terms of our federal grant, we are expected to resettle white Afrikaners from South Africa, whom the U.S. government has classified as refugees. The request, Rowe said, crossed a moral line for the Episcopal Church, which is part of the global Anglican Communion, which boasts among its leaders the late Bishop Desmond Tutu. In light of our church's steadfast commitment to racial justice and reconciliation and our historic ties to the Anglican Church of Southern Africa, we are not able to take this step. Accordingly, we have determined that by the end of the federal fiscal year, we will conclude our refugee resettlement grant agreements with the U.S. federal government. That is specifically because they are white people. The church has ended a 40-year relationship to receive money to resettle refugees. These people are unrepentant racists. And I will tell you right now, the reason why it is based to bring these people into the United States as refugees has nothing to do with their race. Because I will say what I've said the whole time. I think it is good the United States brings in asylum seekers, real ones, not people from Eritrea who fly to Brazil and then travel all the way up through Central America to illegally enter our country and then claim to be an asylum seeker. Not the people from Venezuela who travel all through South and Central America to come to the U.S. to claim to be an asylum seeker, but the people who apply legally online or through a consulate and then are legally granted that status. I don't care if they're from Venezuela. I don't care if they're from Brazil. I don't care if they're from China. If they file their paperwork with the consulate and they get approved legally, be it asylum, refugee status, temporary protected status, or full-on permanent residency. You do it through the legal process. These South Africans did that. They didn't fly to Mexico and illegally cross our border. And so I say, good. That's how asylum should be handled. And now these racists are like, if they come from Guatemala, traveling through a bunch of countries, stopping in Mexico, and then screaming no to asylum in Mexico, which literally happened, I say they are ripping us off and they are lying. But if they apply, wait in their home country, get approved, and then come, I got no problem with that.
Well, it's okay to be racist if it's towards white people today. I mean, isn't that what Elon Omar said? Like, white men are the biggest threat to our country right now.
AOC
I feel
said
so
that.
threatened in this room with all of you here. Only white men in here. What's up with
Well,
this?
actually, I got to stop you there. Serge is African American.
Right.
Oh, yeah. What's that joke now that gingers are African American? Is that because orange is
No,
in
Serge
black?
is literally
legit.
African.
Legit.
He's from
Oh, you're actually
We
African?
resettled this one. Yeah.
He's from
Because I saw a trend on TikTok.
South
All the
Africa.
gingers are like, "Do I get
Yes.
the N-word pass?" And I'm like, I just missed that joke. I
The-
guess.
but that's because these woke groups are claiming gingers are black.
But why?
I don't know. I mean,
Isn't it a skin
It's-
color?
no,
They're a
it's not.
minority. you
It's
know?
it's not. It's not. This is why I often tell people woke does not have anything to do with philosophy or ideology. Right? There's no logic behind it. You get all these people come out and they're like, woke means critical theory. No, it doesn't.
It means
Woke-
lack of thinking. not
Woke
critical
woke
thinking.
is just adherence to the cult.
Yeah.
There is a cult. It exists in the liberal sphere. And if you agree with it, you're in. If you disagree with it, you're out. It is cult-like adherence to their orthodoxy. That's why the Coalition of Communities of Color said Slavic people are people of color. So Luke Rudkowski, blonde hair and blue eyes, white Polish guy, is considered a person of color to them. And I'm telling everybody, there's no rhyme or reason or logic to how they operate or what their function is. It's just agree with us or you don't. Are you in the cult or are you out of it?
I wish there was woke when I was applying to college because I would have ticked every
There was.
box. and
There was,
say,
you just didn't
when
know,
I was
yeah.
applying.
Been there for decades.
Yeah.
Woke's kind of been the standard operating procedure since 2010 or so, 2011.
I mean, I wish I just could have identified as anything I wanted for DEI reasons and then gotten into
okay.
like every Ivy League ever.
But you could have.
Well, I didn't know.
This is-
I was
so-
normal.
But this has always been the problem with the implementation of these like affirmative action programs.
Right.
There was, Serge, you probably know this one. You remember when that blonde South African guy applied for the African American scholarship or whatever?
And he got it?
No.
Oh. I just got so happy.
He showed up. So my understanding of the story is that he genuinely didn't understand because African American isn't we don't use, like people around the world don't use phrases like that. They just say black. And so this blonde white dude sees that there's a scholarship for African Americans and he's from South Africa. So he applied. He shows up to the meeting to read his like essay or whatever. And they're like, excuse me. And he's like, I'm here for the scholarship. And they're
Right.
like, but you're white. He's like, oh, I'm from Africa. And they're like, no.
It's so weird that I had to like tiptoe around using normal terminology. It took me so long to get accustomed to describing someone as black because technically Elon Musk is African American too. Like you could be white and African American, but then you can't describe a person of color as only African American.
You can say person of color, but you can't say colored person.
But which color?
Which is ridiculous. You can't say colored person. That's offensive. But person of
I'm a
color.
person of
That's
color.
fine. It's ridiculous.
But this is the problem. Serge, correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't colored person mean mixed race?
Yes, in
South
South Africa, a colored person is someone that is of descent of mixed race, or usually is from like most in South Africa. A lot of like the people from Southern Africa are usually lighter skinned. The northern people, the northern darker people, came from the north in the Bantu migration because we were there first, and then eventually the skin color changed. But that group of people, the colored people on the western side of the country, mainly speak Afrikaans and are Afrikaans speaking people.
And this is not the American offensive term, colored person.
No.
My understanding is that during apartheid, which maybe you can say apartheid was offensive, sure, there was, what they call it, black, colored, and white were like the categories.
What was the difference between black and colored?
Colored is mixed race.
Okay.
Yes,
So like
exactly.
light skins, as we would call it.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
I guess.
They use the word colored, CLOURED, to refer to themselves as like their racial group. Some people get angry about me saying that. I'm like, well, then take it up with them, man. If you want
Yeah.
to be mad about it, tell them to not. Go tell those people not to say that they're
Don't hate
colored.
the
Or
Light
not to ask us to refer to them that way.
Yeah.
But in the United States, it's different. So this is a funny story. There's I hate to call out this business because they're really great, but I got to tell the story anyway. In Charlestown, there's this really great brewery called Abolition Ale Works, and Serge knows exactly where this is going. They have signs everywhere that say Abo, and we brought Richie there, who's Australian, and he nearly had a heart attack.
Wait, why?
Because that's the N word in Australia.
Really?
Aboriginal. And so
Oh, yeah.
Abolition Aleworks had Abo on a bunch of pieces of art, and he walked in and he was like, whoa, like, that's crazy. And it's like, it means something different in America. It doesn't mean anything. But to an Australian, different things mean different things.
Well, back to the headline. I didn't have a chance to dig into it today. And I didn't really understand the controversy. And until you just clarified it, I thought Trump just brought them in. And I'm like, well, that's kind of hypocritical, isn't it? And then now I'm seeing that they filled out the applications, they got approved, and they came in legally. And I'm like, what's the controversy?
They're waving American flags.
It's because they want to paint Republicans as anti-immigration, but then you say we're
racist.
not anti-immigration. We just want it done the right way. So it doesn't fit their narrative, and they have to spin it in a way that fits theirs.
These are families, not military-aged men.
Right. And before
That-
we weren't able to claim asylum for any refugee status like this. The U.S. actually had a huge embargo on South Africa because of apartheid, which may have been right, may have been incorrect. I wanted to speak for it. Obviously, I don't want segregation, but America had it too. It's not like they're just high and mighty. Oh, we would never do that. It's like you guys fought a war about it. A huge thing.
It's not
anyways.
even that deep. It's just do it the right way. I don't care.
We were never
That's what
allowed to
Tim
do that
said.
until now, and now we're able to do that. And that's
Right.
what you're seeing a lot of people being like, "Hey, I want to get the hell out of here. Let's move to the U.S. and become an American." That's what we're doing.
How insane is it that in South Africa they literally chant and sing "Kill the white people"? Kill the white farmer specifically, right?
No, but Israel's apartheid, not South Africa.
But the left is like, that's just a protest song. It doesn't mean anything. And it's like, bro, are you kidding? Like, they're jumping up and down and singing.
well, the left clearly they made it clear they love terrorists.
I do want to read this, though. There's some important information there. They say the Afrikaners were met on arrivals at NBC News by U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau. Landau said that Trump's pause of the U.S. refugee program was from the very beginning subject to exceptions. When it was determined to be in the interest of the United States, he cited the example of when the refugees could be assimilated easily into our country. They tell quite harrowing stories of the violence that they faced in South Africa that was not redressed by the authorities by the unjust application of law. The United States, as we were proud to say, has stood for equal justice under the law and the fair and impartial application of law. In an executive order issued on February 7th, Trump said the United States would help with resettling Afrikaner refugees escaping government-sponsored race-based discrimination, including racially discriminatory property confiscation. The executive order also said the U.S. would no longer provide aid or assistance to South Africa. It came after a new South African land law went into effect that seems to reflect the views of Elon Musk. Now, it's been a while since we've gone over this, but Trump had a pause on the refugee program. I will say this, because I do want to pull that up and make sure it's correct. I disagree with this. If they're arguing these people can be easily assimilated, therefore they get an exception to any kind of pause on refugee status, I disagree with that. But I ain't throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I agree with the U.S.'s legal migration practices. Donald Trump has previously said, we want more migration, but legally. There's a lot of people that don't want that at all. There's a lot of people on the right that say, no more immigrants. And we'll see where Donald Trump goes with it. I think it's great when we have immigrants that come to this country and assimilate properly, economically and culturally, so that we can maintain our moral traditions and we don't clutter the country with low-skilled labor and then destroy the base level of our economy.
I mean, I genuinely love the cultural diversity. Like, I live in New York, and all of my immigrant friends are obviously legal immigrants. And by the way, one of my closest friends is a legal refugee from Ukraine who came since the war started. And it's just like, again, repeating the same point I said earlier, it's not that we're against immigration, but you have to do it the right way, because otherwise, how do you differentiate who's coming here that's like secretly Hamas, and then how do you differentiate who's coming here to actually make their lives better and chase the American dream? And the only way to do that is through the documentation and the vetting. And it's just, if you want to come here and you actually want to have a better life, then do it the legal way. Otherwise, you're just going to be kicked out.
And this is the legal
Not that
way.
controversial.
Just a quick aside. I want to show this post from @Timcast News. Guys, if you're on X, follow @Timcast News. We got this post. Take a look at this. Both pictures are from the White House press conference today. The orange filter that the fake news media places on Donald Trump is insane. Here's what Trump looks like in an actual video. And you can see he does have a tan. He's got fake tan of some sort. Take a look how they put him in the articles. I mean, come on. Look at that. They have to be increasing the saturation.
They do. This has been debunked already. The same debate on Fox and CNN. CNN made him look so orange, it looks like you powdered his face in Cheetos, and he looked normal on Fox.
I bet I was watching today, and I was thinking the same thing. because on one channel, once again, and they'll argue, no, it's just that we use color. It's normal. It's, bro.
No, it's not.
It's crazy. Let me see if
There was one day I saw the president in person, subtle flex, and then that night he did a press conference, and I was like, Mommy, I swear he was not orange when I saw him today. She was like, I don't know, he looks pretty orange now.
Ever since the Joe Rogan, making him kind of gray colored thing, everyone, even if they're not, and it just has to do with the lighting or the lens, it doesn't matter because people are going to think they did, or at least believe they did.
This is a picture from The Guardian. Look at this. Like, it's small, but they all do it. I've met this man in person. He does not look bright orange.
Right? He doesn't look orange in person.
That's
they
so
do
weird.
him so dirty. I want to go back what you said earlier. You said the word assimilation and my mind went elsewhere. Can you guys, what came out today in the UK? He said something along the lines of they're going to crack down more on immigrants that want to assimilate by making sure they're proficient enough in English.
In the UK.
Yeah, in the UK. And I thought, oh my God, imagine America did this. I meet so many people who don't speak a word of English after 50 years here.
The Trump administration did make an executive order saying that the United States, the official language of the United States,
yeah, but that's
is English.
totally different. He's saying basically to qualify for immigration, you have to be
that's in the UK.
proficient in the UK.
If I understand correctly, you have to become a citizen. You have to be able to speak English here.
I know so many legal immigrants who definitely don't speak English.
It's something that we talked about, and I honestly, I think that you should have to be able to speak English to come to the U.S. on a green card or anything. A language is an operating system. There are a bunch of phrases that you can only say in English because they wouldn't make sense if you as a literal translation. So you have to be like, well, it's like saying. So I think that because it helps to foster assimilation and a cohesive society, I think that it's important for all Americans to speak English. If you want to come here, you should have to speak English. The government shouldn't be printing up official paperwork or whatever in Chinese and Mandarin and Spanish.
100%.
And there should be just English, and you should have to learn it.
And so many people try to make that seem like it's racist. But my
care.
argument is no one forced you to come here.
Yep.
Listen, I'm a practicing Jew. I keep all my cultural traditions. We have beautiful freedom of religion. I'm not proselytizing it. And it's like, if you came to America, there was a reason. You clearly loved the values here. You saw the potential here. So what's the point of bringing the disasters from your country here just to replicate them? You're trying to escape something clearly. Don't bring all that nonsense here. Just go back to wherever you came from. And that's not racist. It's called assimilation. Either you contribute or you're making it worse.
What they want, what they had in their home country, but they want to be rich.
That's essentially the long and short of it.
I come to the United States, I make a lot of money really, really quickly, then bring my laws, and I'm on top.
That phrase wouldn't make any
it's
sense
working
in
in some
another
places.
language either, right?
Let's long and short. Let's jump to this story from the Post-Millennial. Protesters block access to Newark ICE detention center, refuse to leave until arrested. I love this. Do you guys want to watch a video of a Democrat member of Congress closed fist punching a federal law enforcement officer?
Let's see it.
I do.
All right. Well, we've got this video, this article here from Gateway Pundit. DHS releases visitation guidelines to shut down Democrat narrative, says members of Congress cannot break the law. They included this video from Homeland Security. Let's roll the tape. Here's in the red. That's a Democrat rep.
She's a congresswoman?
Yeah, it's, what is it, LaMonica McIver? So she's shoving feds, shoving them.
Throwing elbows in
already. Assault with physical contact is a crime with an 8-year maximum penalty. Now watch this. See her fist right here? That was a slam, but there's more. Boom. I wonder who she is. But wait for it. There it is. Watch this. This guy right here, it's going to replay the video. She's right here. Watch this. You see that?
God.
That's a closed fist punch on a federal law enforcement officer.
Just because you're weak doesn't mean it's not a crime.
Look at that. She punched him.
Fact. I hate when women hit men and think it's okay because we're not as strong as them.
So,
Stop.
Lock her up.
Yeah.
Right to jail.
Wait, the best part about this headline was congressmen have to follow the law. And I'm like, whoa, no way. Thank you for making that clear.
The funny thing is, check out the CNN clip. I want to play the CNN clip for you.
But there's no reason for it. Nothing happened other than the chaos that they created themselves. If anything, we were pushed and shoved and found in a very vulnerable situation for the three of us. But there's no reason.
And MacIver actually said, there's no video of any of that.
Of course.
And it's like, are you saying that it happened, but nobody can prove it? Yeah.
God.
So there you go. And now we have this video from today. Take a look at this.
Are they singing? Why do they always sing?
Because they're developmentally disabled.
I just get like.
They make buses that go to prison. Just put them all in a bus.
So the attack from Democrats this is last week. It was during a excuse me. They were bringing in it was a prison transport. It was a prisoner transport. And so the crazy thing is, on Reddit, these selective posts are incredible. They omit key details from the story, and they say things like, the mayor of Newark was there, and he was talking with feds. Then he was inside asking why he couldn't come on the tour, and they said, because you're not a member of Congress, so he left. Then he was arrested for trespassing. The implication being that he peacefully walked up, talked to them, and peacefully walked away and got arrested, when in fact, he was part of a violent mob storming through the gates, and then they arrested him for breaking into an ICE facility. These people live in a fake reality. They don't watch the videos. They don't actually read the stories. And that's why they believe insane fake things.
It does make me wonder if they're dishonest or just if they're actually uninformed or if they're just dishonest.
I think a lot of them are brainwashed.
The people making the posts are intentionally deceiving. And the run-of-the-mill people, I'm going to say this. This Friday on the Culture War, we've got, I pre-recorded an episode with Adam Conover. And I don't want to, we talked for 2 hours. He did not know Trump never called Nazis fine people.
I didn't know that he did not call them, you're saying?
So he
Like, it was
believed,
taken out of context.
He believed Trump literally said they're very fine people on both sides. And to which I responded, except for the neo-Nazis and white nationalists who should be condemned totally. And he went, Trump said that?
Oh my
And I went, holy crap. I pulled up Snopes right away. His response was, I don't live in your bubble. And I'm like, the news? Trump's speeches? Joe Biden launched a campaign off of this, saying Trump called Nazis fine people. He never did. To this day.
Sued for that.
And we had Tara Palmieri, who was on a couple weeks ago. She also did not know. She genuinely believed Trump did this. And it's a hoax. They're lying in the corporate press, and the activists are lying every single day. They are scumbags. But then you get people like, I think people like Adam, he's not a journalist. He's a comedian. His news is third hand, not even second hand. He's getting news not from the source, but from pundits who are intentionally lying. So you've got the corporate press lying, and they omit and obfuscate things. Then you've got the pundits selectively choosing how to tell the story. And then people like Adam, I'm not trying to be a dick. He was a nice guy. It's a fun show. It was contentious. But then not knowing the truth, no wonder he's upset about these things. He genuinely thinks Trump's a fascist who's calling Nazis good people. Never happened. Same thing with Hassan Piker. I'll say this as often as I can. Hassan was thinking he was making fun of me, going, what do you mean Oprah Garcia is not from Maryland? Like, he's from D.C., of course. He's from Maryland. Yo, Hassan genuinely thought this guy was from Maryland.
Hassan also said America deserved 9/11. Hassan also said Hezbollah are great people. So I don't know how serious I take
Hassan also said there are babies that are settlers.
Yeah,
That's right.
He just hates Jews, let's be honest.
I think he's someone who's disingenuous.
That was wild, dude, when he was like, babies are settlers too. And it's
Wait,
like,
Hassan was the first person to make me lose my mind on a Piers Morgan debate. Like, I'm pretty chill and composed, but it was the day that Hamas released a video of Hirsch, the American, in captivity, and I was so sensitive already. He's like, yeah, well, he deserves it, and they don't care about the hostages, and you don't care about the hostages, and I lost it. I was so emotional, and I hate him for getting under my skin like that. But I just realized he's one of genuinely, like, the worst people I know. Like, earlier I was jokingly talking about Myron Gaines. Like, some people are genuinely stupid, and then some people are just evil. And Hassan is one of those people who pretends he knows what he's talking about, but will always choose the side of evil.
He's also stupid.
Indeed.
And stupid. He definitely is stupid.
I'll give you a good example.
But I think he's very malicious.
One of my favorite examples, which look, I hate to bring the guy up and get into it again. I know some people don't care, but let me explain the evil of these, like these whatever you want to call these people, the woke, the cult.
The woke right and left.
Mr. Beast put out a video where he was curing cataracts, or he was giving people cataract surgery to cure blindness, and it was like 10 grand a pop. I thought it was kind of cringe that you've got all these people who a simple surgery can cure their blindness and only a game show could pay for it. Hassan made a video where he said this, and I said, he's completely right. It is idiocracy, nightmare dystopia, that in order to cure your blindness, an easy, simple procedure to make you see again, only a game show can do it. So I reacted to what he was saying Hassan's completely correct about this. And I pointed out that, you know, at some point in my analysis, I said, the military-industrial complex is bad. They want us involved in every war. They lobby the government to make wars. We haven't declared war since World War II. And then I said, we should not be involved in the war in Ukraine. Hassan responded in a reaction to my video saying, yes, the military-industrial complex is bad. But then when I said that we shouldn't be involved in Ukraine, he laughed and mocked me. My point is, there's no logic or morality behind what he's saying. It is cult-like adherence to what their tribe says. So when they go, the military-industrial complex is bad, what they're actually saying is, we don't like the attacks on certain groups in the Middle East. When I then say, so because of this, we shouldn't be involved in any of these wars, like Ukraine. No, the cult is in favor of the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So it's contradictory. It makes no sense. But they're on the side of whatever the machine state tells them to be on.
It's true.
Yeah, I think these people really believe that ICE is Nazis. I drove through an ICE protest the other day, so I turned up the new Kanye song.
Oh my God.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, the window down. It's a banger.
Well, listen, there are leftists that are, you know, making open threats. You know, if you see anyone playing this song, there was a guy that I retweeted a tweet that he said, anyone playing this song deserves to get the hell beat out of him and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, look, that didn't work out in 2015, 16, 17, and 18. Didn't make Nazis go away. Why do you think it's going to work now? And of course, he had a bunch of
Wait,
reasons.
what was that headline on his?
We'll go to that one. It is really sad on the Ye thing that he genuinely doesn't Ye is a good example of a guy who thinks he's smarter than everybody, but is not. And I genuinely mean it. He makes good music. He's made a lot of really great music. And because of that, he thinks he's smarter than everybody. What happens? When he encounters a problem, he's got yes men blowing smoke up his ass.
Very true.
In his new song, it's sad. It is a very, very sad song. I know everyone's like, there's a lot of outrage over the lyrics because,
We're talking about Hail Hitler?
Yeah, and then he's like saying he's a Nazi and he's got these people chanting this stuff. And I'm like, bro, listen to what he's saying. He says, they took my kids from me.
As they should.
And all of my fame and all my money, I can't see my children. I can't get my kids back. I can't even
Sounds
see
about
my
right.
children. I half agree, half disagree. He's exemplified through what he's done over the past couple of years why he's not getting access to his kids. If he wasn't so arrogant, it's actually quite simple. A rich and famous person who is being denied access to his kids, like Ye, need only do one thing. Hey, y'all, man, they're telling me I can't see my kids anymore, so I'm going to put out a free concert for you guys outside the courthouse. I want y'all to show up with me, and we're going to sing a song called Let Ye See His Kids. It's going to be peaceful. It's going to be fun. I hope you guys come.
I think someone hasn't advised him to take a more diplomatic approach.
Yep.
I'm sure they have.
Nope. I don't think so.
You don't think anyone has?
Nope, because Ye
I don't
surrounds
know, Kim.
himself with people who are terrified of him because he's Ye and he's super rich. And then he says, man, this is like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to run for president. They go, yeah, you do it. That's right. And they just, this is what happens. This is what happens. He thinks he's smarter than everybody. So, maybe he was advised and he shuts them down. But he writes a song saying, they won't let me see my kids, even with all my fame and money. And I'm like, bro, with all that fame and money, you get your kids back.
I see a lot of the people.
Look at Elon Musk.
Yeah. Well, besides his first son. But everyone that's ever tried to disagree with Ye has always just been screenshotted and posted on his Instagram and dragged by all of his yes men. So anyone that tries to talk sense into him just immediately gets dismissed if they don't fit his narrative. And I don't know. I don't empathize that much with him not seeing his kids. Like, I never want someone to be in that predicament. But then I hear stories like he has Northwest and he brings Andrew Tate over while he has his daughter in the house, and like Lord knows what they're talking about. And then Kim has to come and pick her up, or he's walking around with his naked wife in front of his 4-year-old son. Like, you can't do that. You're traumatizing.
But he
kids.
should-
with his naked wife in front, like on red carpets.
But
That's
he
even
should
worse.
be able to see his children. And if they're denying him any access at all, That's wrong in my opinion.
I'm sure there's a reason why. You
The
think maybe he's
Kardashians
not
are
telling
witches.
North,
You
like,
can
oh, your
always
mom's a
you can
whore?
always have supervised access to your own children, but I think.
But
you
he
know,
does. He just had North with Andrew Tate like a month ago.
I
Right.
don't know if they
Well,
were even in the same space, but
my
were in the same space.
point is I half agree. The dude's making a song saying I can't see my children and they don't know how I'm feeling, so I became the villain. It's like, okay, well, like you're exemplifying why people don't want to give you your have you with your kids. Let's jump to this story from The Guardian. Left-wing pundit Hassan Piker says U.S. border agents stopped and questioned him on Trump and Gaza.
Bravo, U.S. border agent.
I'm going to say bravo as well because this is not a story. It's going massively viral, and I would give this on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is why are we even talking about it, and 10 is heavens help me, it's the end of the world. 5 would be that middle ground where you're like maybe it's a story. This is a 5. This is a 5. Let me read. Hassan Piker, a U.S.-born progressive political commentator, said he was stopped by U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents and questioned about his opinions of Donald Trump, Israeli war policy as he returned to the country on Sunday from France. Piker recounted the incident on his Twitch livestream on Monday, said he was led to a private room at Chicago O'Hare Airport and interviewed for nearly 2 hours about his political views. Quote, the goal here is to put fear into people's hearts, to have a chilling effect on speech that, like, the government is unafraid of intimidating you. Does this stop me from saying whatever the F I want to say? Of course not. Don't be ridiculous. But the reason why I wanted to talk about it was to give you more insight into what the government is doing and to speak out against this sort of stuff. So, like Cenk Uygur made a post about, obviously it's his uncle, and he was saying like, this is wrong. Intimidating.
I didn't know that.
I would just like to say this. There is a component where I will give it, I say this is a 5 out of 10 in terms of, is it warrant its own headline or anything? Not really. Should the Guardian have written about it? No. But there's a conversation to be had around the U.S. government's use of the quadruple S security screening for people, putting people on no-fly lists, a bunch of other stupid stuff. I don't understand what the point of stopping Hassan Piker for the most part is, because they know who he is, and the dude talks about his opinions on streams 24/7. That being said, this happens to everyone all the time. And the reason why it's not a story, in my opinion, is, well, I mean, that's it. It's like extremely common, probably happens like, I don't know, 50 times a day to random people. If you want to argue they should not be doing that, I say, okay. So for me, when I was working for Vice, I got stopped all the time. I had that, they stole a USB drive from me. Yeah, this is a crazy story. I was going through, I was at LaGuardia, and I had a camera bag. And that's basically all I was traveling with. It was a backpack. It was kind of small. And I had like 3 shirts, 3 pairs of underwear, 3 changes of socks, minimal stuff. Had contact lenses and then camera equipment. And in it, in the top, inside, and in a pouch that's kind of hard to find, was a USB drive that my friend, a journalist who's working in the Middle East, had given me with video footage he wanted backed up. They stopped me from going through the gate, through the security, and said, you've got to stand right here and wait for a screening. As my bag was being taken and run through the x-ray, and I said, that's my bag right there. And they're like, it'll be fine. I said, no, I want to be able to see it. They wouldn't let me stay within view of my bag. And then after about 5 minutes, someone came up and said it was okay and I could go through now. And then when I grabbed my bag, the USB was gone.
No. And
Yeah,
you
no
didn't
joke.
go back?
I asked where it went. They said, we don't know what you're talking about.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'll say this. I've traveled to a bunch of, I was in Egypt, I was in Morocco, flew back to the country. And when I went through customs, they looked at my passport, rifled through it, saw a bunch of Arabic and said, come with me. And then I got detained and questioned. So what's happening now is with this story, they're acting like Trump is targeting them. This is normal.
Oh my God.
It's not
I'm sure
good.
Trump called the border agents
Right.
on your like what?
My point is this. I'm not a fan of them stopping American citizens to interrogate them about, whatever. But it's not the craziest thing in the world to be asked about what you were doing, why you were doing it.
Wait, why aren't you a fan? An American citizen doesn't make you a good person by default.
A fan of being stopped and detained and questioned over your political views because we have a First Amendment.
But I don't think it was over his political views. I honestly think it was a random search.
Yeah,
I think
that's
he's
what I'm
making
saying.
it a political story.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not a fan of the idea that just because I went to Egypt or Morocco, that they're going to pull me aside and that's the qualifying reason. And it's like,
Did you
bro,
accept any gifts from this country?
all of this stuff. Did you meet with any groups? Were you were you near livestock? That's the first one.
Yeah.
And I just said, no, I work for a media company. We were covering the revolution, blah, blah, blah. And then they asked me about Morocco. Why were we there? I was like, It's called News Exchange. It was a big corporate news event. And then I had to answer a bunch of questions. And I was like, literally, it was like, listen, brother, all of this is on my Twitter. All of this is on Vice.com. I hope you watch it and tell your friends.
Yeah.
So when this happened to him, it's like the story here is he's blaming Trump for a thing that's been happening for decades and is not new information. And he's not special because of it.
He's doing this
He thinks
because,
he's very special because his mommy told him he is.
well, he's doing
my
this
mom said I was
because
special.
it gets him attention on his chat. Like he's a very anti-American, and he's made remarks on his stream that, I think that the government is gonna arrest me or whatever. He's alluded to those kind of thoughts and those ideas.
He also said America deserved 9/11. I'll just repeat that one more
Yeah.
time.
And he said
for those who
babies are
missed it.
settlers.
And Hezbollah's
But
good.
the point is, like, he's monetizing this.
And who cares if rape happened on
Right.
October 7th? His words.
The point of him doing this stuff is because he'll get his chat to give him money. So the socialist is monetizing the fact that he wants to make himself seem like he's politically persecuted.
I got to give him a shout out, though. He doesn't produce 100% Trump slop. And for that, he gets a respect.
You're right. He dressed as a cute little waitress one time and painted his nails and danced on TikTok.
I don't care about
Credit
that
where it's
either.
due.
My point is there are a lot of these progressive and liberal pundits that the only thing they ever do is spam blast Trump videos. 100% of their videos, it's just Trump, 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 Trump.
So the bar's
He doesn't
low
do
then.
this. Yeah, I mean, relatively. But Hassan makes a channel where he talks about news, and I think he's got bad opinions. I think
Right.
he does grift, and I think he's a hypocrite. But it may just be because he's dumb and doesn't and he's dumb and he's arrogant. So
Wait, I love how this is his version of a compliment.
it is. Like my point is, I don't know that he's trying to intentionally game the system to manipulate, make money, grift off boomers. I think he's genuinely just stupid and arrogant. So that combination, what happens is he talks about all the different news stories. Like you go to his YouTube channel, you'll see all of his clips are like big news story, big news story. I respect that.
It's always the worst.
But when he's wrong, he doubles down and gets angry.
I know.
Instead of being like, "Oh, I was wrong about that." That's my issue.
It's true.
Yeah, and like his surface level view of politics. Like the military industrial complex is bad. Oh, was he like 30?
Oh, so he's not that young. I thought he was.
I
Like
don't know how old
20.
he is.
Yeah, I swear to you, I thought he was 21.
How old is he?
Because that's how he acts.
No, he's not 21. He's
I literally thought he was 20. He looks like a. Never mind. I'm not even gonna start.
Let's get his actual
Giving him
age.
too much attention.
We're giving this guy a big shout. He's getting big promotion here on Timcast
Yeah,
IRL.
seriously, you're welcome.
He was he's 33.
Wow.
Yeah.
I promise you, I
old.
thought he was like a college boy.
No, he's an old guy. He's an old guy. It is fascinating how the Young Turks have basically just like died completely.
The only person I knew from it was Cenk. And I only know Cenk because I debated him on Piers Morgan. Otherwise, like, I don't even.
They put out videos that get like 5,000 views.
Isn't
Sick.
she doing something new? Doesn't she have?
That's like me
show or
banned
something?
on
A
TikTok.
women's
Maybe.
panel, like a View or something. Where did I see that?
Yeah, we were trying to do that. We never got it off the ground. It's hard. It's hard to build all these projects, man. I wish.
Yeah.
Because we got a bunch of great personalities, great talent, great moms to talk about politics.
You said moms?
Moms. Yeah, we've had this this project on the back burner for a while, which is basically The View, but for like sane women.
Oh, everyone's doing it now.
Yeah, because The View is awful. So they're like, man, if people watch this, imagine if the women had like the mental capacity to hold a conversation.
PBD just started it. I haven't.
That's what it is.
Gotten myself to.
Oh,
watch
he's
an
doing it?
episode
I think
yet.
it's PBD. Anna Kasparian. is
She's on it.
I mean, I can't
that, yeah.
say.
Wow, that's
a lot of people are
apocalyptic for the Young
working on
Turks.
it. Like I know people that are like about to. I've been asked to be on all of them, and I'm like, don't love the panel.
Let me just say this. We've been talking about doing that for like a year, and we failed to execute. Everybody heard the great idea, and it's no surprise they're doing it. Just like, did you guys know this? Pop-Tarts announced an Pop-Tart ice cream sandwich, and it was
Not
like
Maha, Tim.
it was about 2 months.
Bobby Kennedy, shut your ears.
It was about 2 months after I announced on this show that we were filming a vlog where we were making Pop-Tart ice cream sandwiches, where we would take 2 Pop-Tarts and put vanilla ice cream in between, and we filmed it. And we were just like, that's a fun thing to do. And I know you're listening, Pop-Tarts. I know you're listening, and I thank you for making those.
I was about to say, where's your
I
equity?
thought he was
in
gonna
it?
sue.
Yeah, what?
Pop Tart.
No, I'm
so
excited.
wholesome.
Yeah, that's nice, dude.
Wait,
Absolutely.
I have
Make
a very
one
serious
gluten-free.
question. No, serious question. Which Pop-Tarts are you putting outside the ice cream?
Oh, first of all,
Only one right answer.
the best one is the brown sugar cinnamon.
Yep.
Yep. And then we tried blueberry, strawberry.
Absolutely not.
We have cookies and cream.
Still not.
And that one actually just tastes like an ice cream sandwich. And then we tried fudge, But everybody ate the s'mores because we bought 1,000 Pop-Tarts. The s'mores all got.
Do you have
eaten
any
instantly.
s'mores?
They're gone.
No.
Good luck.
I haven't had a Pop-Tart
I haven't had
since
one
I was
since middle
9.
school.
Bro, there's 1,000 Pop-Tarts downstairs.
I've seen the wall. There's a Pop-Tart wall downstairs.
Wait, really? I missed this wall. I love s'mores Pop-Tarts. That's why I was
That's
so
why
fat
everybody
in
ate
middle
them.
school.
Everybody ate them all.
It's literally a
The
chubby
first,
little girl.
the first one that got eaten was the s'mores. I think the brown sugar cinnamon is the classic. It's the
They
best.
are the best.
No, the strawberry I loved and hated at the same time, but the s'mores, I mean, it was just so good.
I can tell. So since we shifted from Hassan to Pop-Tarts, the view count's been going up.
Yeah?
Well, Hassan is pretty boring.
Pretty, yeah, that's like a
People
direct
are like, I don't know what you're
correlation.
talking about, Hassan. What is it? Pop-Tarts. Tell me more.
Leave your thoughts below on which Pop-Tart's the best. Not sponsored by Pop-Tarts.
Oh, man. All right, you guys ready? From the Wall Street Journal, AOC isn't ruling anything out, including the White House.
Let's
From your mouth to God's
go.
ears.
Let's go.
AOC.
Let's
AOC.
go.
Where do we donate?
I mean, the fact of the matter is, I do think that I'm the guy over here that's like, look, man, she's charismatic and people will vote for her. I know that there are people that disagree with me, but I do think that I think that of the Democrats that are viable, I think that she actually does have a really good.
More than Kamala?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Kamala Harris doesn't have the charisma. Kamala Harris is bad at speaking. She has bad policy because she doesn't actually have a
Does
foundation.
AOC have policy?
The point about AOC is AOC hasn't gone back and forth from being super progressive to being kind of a conservative, she doesn't flip flop, and she doesn't have the rumors about how she got into politics that Kamala Harris does.
I hear you, Phil, but I counter with this story. Post-millennial, quote, this woman has done nothing. AOC's constituents bash rock star rep for being absent in her district. She's hated by her own district, okay? She's absent. She gets elected as a rep and then goes national politics instantly and ignores what her district actually needs or wants. I think I've said
around on private jets talking about oligarchy.
Oh yeah,
That's enough said.
Yep.
I'm gonna say this because I've said it before and it bears repeating. The three main reasons she can't win. She is short. She is young.
Physically short?
Physically short.
How short is she?
She's like, what, 5'6"?
I'm 5'4".
You can't be president.
What the hell?
Sorry.
You do know that people vote based on height, right?
Okay, so I wear high heels. Nobody knows.
Doesn't work. That's why Ron DeSantis was accused of wearing
I'm challenging you on that.
It's true.
I'll be president at 5'5".
Good luck. You saw Ron DeSantis wearing those weird boots? Yeah, with the heels in them?
Yeah.
Because a major factor in elections is the height of the candidate. That's why, who was it? Kamala wanted a stool or something?
I think attractiveness, yes. I don't
course.
think it's height.
Height, absolutely. That's why Kamala wanted a smaller podium because she didn't want to look small behind a podium because height matters. It's not my opinion. It's true. Her youth,
Let me see.
absolutely a huge issue,
ChatGPT.
and a high-pitched voice.
Well, her youth for sure.
And high-pitched voice.
Yeah.
And maybe her lack of policies and maybe her horrible policies, if any, and maybe her extremism and like completely alienating all the moderates.
AOC
perhaps.
is 5'2"?
Well, okay, that's really short.
She's not 5'2". That's way too small.
Shortest
She's like 5'7".
U.S.
Oh, she's 5'4". They split the baby on there.
But
right in the
you
middle.
don't look at her and go, "Oh, she's a short girl."
Yes,
I've never looked at her and be like, "Oh, she's tiny."
Listen. When consultants go to politicians, they tell them exactly the clothing they have to wear because you might be saying like, well, who cares if I wear a red tie or a blue tie? And they're like, you will lose 0.7% if you wear the red tie, and that's going to translate to 1 million people.
James Madison was 5'4".
Indeed, but you're talking about before media, before TV. So here's a great example. The debate between Nixon and JFK, I think it was. Was it Nixon and JFK? Mm-hmm. On the radio, they said Nixon won. There were people who listened on the radio were like, wow, he was amazing. On TV, they said JFK won because Nixon was sweaty and disheveled looking.
Didn't shave.
Yep.
Had a 5 o'clock shadow. Just looked bad. And because
Imagine
of that,
Biden on a radio debate. They would
I
think
don't
that the
remember.
radio was
Probably was.
glitching.
In the
They would think the
20s.
radio was glitching.
So AOC If she runs for president, I think this is good. This is a major issue for any woman. And I know you mentioned Margaret Thatcher, Phil.
Yep.
Parliamentary systems don't vote for candidates; they vote for parties.
True.
So we in the United States, asking the American people to elect a 5'4" young, shrill woman is not going to happen.
There are so many reasons I don't think she'll win presidency, and her height was definitely not on my list. But I hear you. You can't lie with the stats. That's what leftists
I'd like
do.
to see her debate. I think
She
that'd be
can't.
fun.
She seems too hysterical. And by the way, this is a true point, and I always get heat for this by saying it as a woman. The only woman who could win a presidency has to be somewhat masculine, because you can't have an emotional, overly hormonal, even a maternal, arguably, woman in office, because genuinely, like genetically, we are too empathetic. We're too caring. I feel like women always give people the benefit of the doubt, and you can't really have a weak
So
president.
you're saying someone masculine like Michelle Obama?
Yes.
Okay.
No, seriously. On a real note,
Michelle Obama
gives
is
me
tall, isn't she?
masculine vibes.
Yeah. Yes.
She's got
She's
big
tall,
shoulders.
she's built, attitude-wise,
For a man.
she's very firm. AOC is very feminine.
Let me read this for you. The study Height and Success in Politics by Timothy A. Judge and Daniel M. Cable, published in the Journal of Psychological Science, found that taller individuals tend to earn more and are more likely to attain leadership positions, including politics. Additionally, in 2003, a 2003 study titled Candidates, Physical Attributes and Electoral Success, Gregory A. Huber and John S. Lipinski found that taller U.S. presidential candidates have historically won a majority of elections, reinforcing the idea that voters may subconsciously associate height with leadership.
Listen,
This is like a well-known thing. I thought everybody understood.
I think
that's
for
why
men,
Ron is.
definitely for men.
It's look.
I actually think tall women, so I don't want to say they're unattractive because it's not true.
Women trying to be men lose. Women have a better chance of winning if they try to be matriarchal instead of patriarchal. But they don't understand this. All of the data being presented to them on elections is being presented largely from a male perspective, from male candidates, and they're trying to apply it to women. You see this with AOC at her Bronx rally, where she ran out fist bumping and going like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But her voice, it's not a deep, thundering, charismatic, they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Here's what I think. Every time I picture a woman in office, I think, how would like Hamas, as example, view them? How would Putin treat them? How would she respect them? I think like, how are you going to sit at the big boys table and be able to hold your ground? You want to laugh as much as I can't stand her. I don't mind Hillary Clinton that much because she's so masculine to me that I actually think she could hold her ground because she's kind of like dude deep down.
And she's still, what did she get? 62 million votes, something? What was it?
Like I would have taken Hillary over Kamala any day.
I agree with the left on, you call it an inherent sexism or whatever you want to call it, that prevented her from winning. Not completely. I think she's just despised so much. But you combine that with, look at you've got the anecdotal man on the street interviews, and there's hundreds of them where they straight up interview people like, vote for Kamala. I'm like, I ain't voting for a woman. Tons of those videos went viral during the election cycle.
I think if she was more respectable, I don't think that would be the argument. Listen, obviously there are degenerates who are like, I hate women. Probably Andrew Tate's like followers, but otherwise, you? Not you.
There are a lot of people in this country that outright say, I would not vote for a woman.
You don't have to hate women to say, oh, I wouldn't want a woman president.
But it has to, I feel like it's easy to say when there's not a good candidate representing women.
Probably pretty easy to say when there's a good
Especially when Kamala's the example. I mean, come on. It's like humiliating to all of us.
AOC's not a good candidate either.
She's not.
She's like I give her like a C+, B-. You know, Phil says she's got charisma, but like it's limited. It's nowhere near the amount you'd need for a president. Not even a senator, honestly. But she might be able to beat Chuck Schumer. All she got to do is primary him.
For sure.
Oh, God, Chuck spoke in my district in Nassau County. He got booed. It was so funny. I spoke right after him, and it was like, yay! And then Chuck came out. They're like, boo! I was like, this is my district.
Michelle Obama, I think, would have been able to do well maybe, 6-7 years ago. I don't think she's got it today.
No.
And she, what she's really scared of? The reason Michelle's never going to run is because I think she really hates that she's called a man.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably...
It's already out there. It's not going to come out more. It's already
will.
so out there. Really? I feel like everyone said it at some point.
She's out of the public eye generally. Right? Like for the most part, she's not in the news every day.
Well, her new silly podcast, she's on it for her failure of a podcast.
Which she should stop doing because she's doing nothing good for her.
You don't like
herself. She has made some of the most terrible for her own image gaffes that I
Best is when she said, "as a black man." I was like, "Oh, Freudian slip."
Finally told us the truth.
Well,
And when she said, "I can't sleep at night over Trump's deportations," like, honey, what did your husband do?
She also said, "Oh, it's really expensive to live at the White House," and was like complaining that she is about the cost of living.
Oh, it's so hard to have a stylist.
What woman could win?
I don't want a woman to win, but I would say Tulsi.
I don't see.
Yeah.
I love Tulsi. I don't think she could win today. I don't think America's ready for a
See
female
how these
president.
4 years go.
I think that if the race, 2024 race was Tulsi versus Trump, Tulsi would have won.
Tulsi's temperament is very even. She does not get even when she was excoriating Kamala Harris and just ending her career.
Yeah.
She was very even-tempered when she was excoriating Hillary Clinton. When Clinton came after her, and she was called her the rot that's in the Democrat Party. She was very, very even-tempered. She wasn't excitable.
Yeah.
And her history as an officer in the military, she's
I think that's what
I take it back. Tulsi would not have won. I take it back. Let me reassess and explain. Right now, going forward, if Tulsi were the Democratic nominee for 2028, she has a very, very good chance of beating whoever the right musters up. And you can take a look at her accolades, her demeanor, the way she handles politics, and it explains why. One, she is not short. She is physically fit. She's was she a major?
Lieutenant colonel.
She's a colonel?
Lieutenant colonel.
Lieutenant colonel. So she's got military service. She's got a strong demeanor in her voice.
Mm-hmm.
She's moderate. So the reason why I say I don't think she could have won in 24 is because the Democratic Party is too psychotic, and the fringe left would have canceled her. They wouldn't allow it.
I just don't think she would have beat Trump. Maybe someone else.
You couldn't do 2024.
The reason why there's a reason why Trump brought her on. Trump and RFK got Trump a lot of support.
Yeah, no, undoubtedly.
Because with Trump and with Tulsi and RFK, he basically said to the moderate wing of the Democratic Party, "This is your only option. Look what they've offered you," and that's how he wins.
Yeah.
But it was still, it's still relatively close. People like to say, "Well, but Trump got a landslide because the Electoral College or whatever." Look at the actual votes. It was still close. 2028 without Trump, Democrats have nobody. Tulsi Gabbard's on the right now. All of the best people Democrats could have had, they just destroyed. And that's why I'm saying 2024, they couldn't have won with Tulsi, because look at how they destroy their candidates. Right. And then only the sycophant garbage D-listers make it.
Yeah.
I think it's just, my point of bringing up Tulsi's name earlier was that it's an example of which females in politics succeed. And Tulsi, I don't think stoic is the right adjective, because she's not stoic. She has a great personality, but she walks a very fine line between like her feminine side and her like badass side. And I think she does a good job. She's very intelligent. She knows how to project it, but not in a way where she's trying to one up a man, but like she belongs at the table.
Yeah,
and she demands the respect, but not in like a bitchy way.
Well, I think that comes from the fact that she is used to being in positions of authority. And also, like I said, I think measured is a really great word to describe her. She's not, she's not excitable. She's
Nikki got very frustrated in her debates, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah. Let's jump to this story from the New York Post. Democrats have abandoned men who just want to get laid and have fun.
That's
Vice
great.
DNC Chair David Hogg says. Okay, let's hear this.
So not to bore people, but to get into the bureaucracy of the DNC, we have a gender balance rule at the DNC because, of course, we do.
Because, of course, we do.
See, right away. By the way, the Republican Party does too. If the chair is a male, then the vice chair has to be a female.
Well, what's interesting is that's even more progressive than our vision, which is that the chair doesn't count towards the gender balance rule that we have. Frankly, I don't even know if it makes sense for us to have the gender balance rule anymore in this day and age, because I want to focus on whoever's just best at the job.
Great.
At this point, that's my review.
That's not even the clip related to the story, so I don't know what New York Post is on about. But I do love this. We have this one. Vigilant Fox says David Hogg gets a huge reaction from Bill Maher after saying Democrats need to reconnect with young men who just want to get laid and have fun. Maybe this is the clip.
Right now, what I think happened last election is younger men, they would rather vote for somebody who even if they don't completely agree with, they don't feel judged by, than somebody who they do agree with, that they feel like they have to walk on eggshells around constantly because they're going to be judged or ostracized or excommunicated. And what what's interesting about this moment is it feels like the two parties in some senses have flipped, where, you know, Republicans used to be the judgmental assholes in many ways. And since many Democrats, despite us, I would say for most of us coming from the right place of wanting to do the right thing, we've created a culture where we say, well, if you say the wrong thing, you're excommunicated. And that's just not how human beings work. Nobody is perfect. But ultimately, what we have to do here is figure out how to bring people back in and work towards the bigger goal of advancing the future of this country and helping young people especially get by so that they're able to focus on their lives and, you know, getting with a young woman or something like that instead of how are they going to pay their rent, for example, or how are they working their 2 jobs. Young people should be able to focus on what young people should be focused on, which is how to get laid and how to go and have fun.
David Hogg for president, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yes.
Nice to see you. We'll see you
Still
back here.
degenerate.
Here's what I want to say about this. You know what? The first thing I thought when I saw this clip was Bill Maher gets around 40,000 viewers in the key demo. Most of his viewers are older, like all cable TV. Who is David Hogg preaching to? I'm not saying it was wrong for him to go on a show like Bill Maher. I mean, older voters vote, and they're very powerful. That being said, in 10 years, when Bill Maher's audience, when Fox News' audience, CNN's audience, MSNBC's audience have passed on and are not voting, I'm not trying to be rude. There is going to be a political earthquake in this country, and the country is going to shift so far right, people's heads will spin. And I say this because of that Real Clear Politics aggregate that showed every age bracket 70 and under supports Trump, or the 40 to 49 was tied for support, but 70 plus was Trump minus 14. Wow. That means if you take all 70 plus individuals and say don't vote, Trump wins in a landslide every single time.
That's so interesting because I feel like the younger generation of liberals, when I say liberals, I don't mean liberals. I mean like the woke mob. They're so loud that it's just hard to believe that because they're the ones that are like parading and protesting.
And he's conservative.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're finding Jesus, which is like the crazy news.
Amen.
I know. It's becoming cool. That was so like, I think he knew what he was doing. I think that was easy clickbait and I guess it worked. Because that was a cringy, like I'm pretty young, and I just cringed at that. Like that was not cool.
Sounds like something that people in a boardroom were talking about, being like, you got to say just like.
It sounds like what you tell an old guy,
Yeah.
so he can sound relatable to the younger generation. Like young kids just want to get laid and have fun.
He's rebranding.
Look, if you guys are talking about the delivery, that's fine. But the substance of what he was saying up until he said, you know, go out and have fun and get laid is true. The Democrats have lost young men because they have demonized young men for 20 years. They have lost an entire generation. The reason that Gen Z men in particular, are so much more right-wing than millennials or even Gen X is because of the way that the way that the Democrats have been treating Gen Z.
Yeah, look at this.
Men in general, but
last election, young men ages 18 to 29 backed President Trump 56 to 42, compared to women who preferred Kamala Harris 58 to 41, according to Tufts University. You know, I think that women are going to have a snap back to the right. Men will not have a snap to the left. And the reason is, and I mean this with no disrespect, men don't have a biological clock. So what happens right now is young guys, they want to hook up, just like David Hogg says, right? He says they want to get laid. Well, the issue is for these guys, they're not thinking about when they have to have a family. They're just thinking like, man, the dating pool sucks right now. Dating apps are whack, and these women are all crazy liberals. So what's happening? There's a massive spike in virginity. It's not so much a spike in virginity. It's that young men are increasingly less likely to have ever had sex and less likely to have had sex within a span of a year. For younger women with biological clocks, once they get into their 30s, they're going to start going to guys. They're going to start looking for partners and saying, I want to have it's time. Like I want to have a family. And the guys are going to be like, let's go on a date. They're going to go on a date. And the guy's going to be like, I'm going to hook up tonight. And then she's going to say, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, fist bump. And he's going to say, thank you for your time and leave. And she's going to go, why? And he's going to say, lady, I've got 50 years till I die. And I can have a kid in any one of those years.
It's true.
I'm going to take my time and make sure I find a good mom for the family I want to have. And what's going to end up happening is women are going to face a pressure men will not face, where they're going to have to capitulate to what the men want. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying that I'm not attacking feminists. I'm saying this is a biological reality. that I think we're going to start seeing. Young men are conservative, do support Trump, and they don't care that women are liberals, and they largely are. In their 30s, guys are going to be like, I'll just find a young conservative woman. Good luck. And these women who are 30 are going to be like, I don't get it. Many of them will give up, have cats, and grow old with no children.
True.
And the women who want to have families are going to be like, I was lied to. Feminism is bad. I'm running out of time.
There are a lot of women that are, older millennials or Gen X that are, realizing that now, that feel that way. They're like, I went and I spent all this time having my career, blah, 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 blah. And when I hit 35, I was like, oh, I want to have kids now. And it was super hard to find someone, or I had problems getting pregnant. And there's a lot of women out there that are, that in that age block. And they're like, I was lied to. Feminism lied to me because they thought they could do everything at the same time. They thought they could have a family and be a CEO and be a lawyer and blah, blah, blah. They thought they could do everything all at the same time. And you can't. You have to make decisions about what your priority is. It's true.
So I think feminism's been hijacked by this narrative where if you get married young, you're like weak and you're codependent now, and the male is going to take away all of your rights and all of your big dreams. And I feel like that's one extreme side, and I feel like the other extreme is like motherhood takes away your opportunity of success, and you have to be a full-time mom. I think there's like a fine line to tread both.
I don't.
Listen, I personally am a very hard worker. I have very big dreams and goals. And one of my huge goals is to be a mother. Like, I don't want 1 million kids, but I definitely want at least 2 to 3. And I don't plan on stopping at all to pursue my career. I'll take a year off like most mothers do. I'm blessed enough that I can take a year off, whether it's like a financial burden or like, do I have help? Yes, my parents are very young. My mom literally had me at 22, 23. But I'm not going to become that full-time stay-at-home mom. And a lot of women judge me for that, and a lot of men judge me for that. And I'm like, listen, to each their own. You need to do what works that's best for your family and not raise degenerate children.
That's fine, but the point is you can't do everything at the same time. You do have to prioritize one or the other. And especially if you've got a full-time job, if you want to actually raise your kids, you're going to have to give up that full-time job, or else it's going to be someone else raising your kids, putting your kids in daycare, putting your kids in school all day long. And that means it will be someone else spending more time with your children than you, so you can do your career, which if people want to do that, that's fine. But there are a lot of people that feel like after they've done that, they feel like I missed out on so much of my killed.
Listen, it's a choice. Blah, blah, blah. It's definitely a sacrifice. Yeah. Like my mother stopped practicing law because she was like, I felt like I wasn't watching you and your brother grow up. And she doesn't regret that decision.
Of course not.
I look at her and I'm always like, wow, like I could never, I don't want to do that. Like I would, like there was a big debate, someone remind me of congresswomen who give birth are allowed to vote from home or something. And I think Anna Paulina was against it. And that I agree with. I feel like if you're going to choose or you accidentally get pregnant while you're sitting in Congress, like, yeah, maybe you're not the best fit to be voting if you're not even present for half of it because you're raising a newborn at home and your priorities are there. That's fine. Then, yeah, take a couple of years off. And you're right. I guess you can't do both. But to go to Tim's point about all the women that are shifting right, I think the minute they realize that Trump does not threaten my body, my choice. In fact, the left does that. Let's not even talk about vaccines. I feel like my body was violated. Then really there's nothing to hate him about. He's not a misogynist. He's not the rapist they paint him to be. Like, women are just always being lied to by the left that Trump is going to take away your right to an abortion. And let me tell you something. Abortion's not a good thing.
Well, women have been lied to by the left, not just about Trump. Women have been lied to by the left, like it's like for all the time. Like the whole feminism argument is a lie, right? Like the idea that men and women, when it comes from the left, it's men and women are the same. You look at the way that China behaved, men and women dressed the same in China because everybody was equal and everybody was the same. And that's the same narrative that feminism has fed to women in the West. The same thing that the Chinese got about how everyone's the same and everyone is equal. It's the same thing. It's just designed for a Western audience.
Yeah, no thank you. Men and women are not the same, not in sports, not physically, not mentally, not emotionally, not in any way are we similar.
You meant to say grapist.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, sewer slide.
Yes.
Unalived.
Unalived is my favorite.
That-
People
you know-
comment on my TikTok, can you unalive yourself? And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
See, if you're gonna do that, just go with the very deep lore. Say things like "and hero."
And here,
get it.
the fact that these terms exist proves people reject censorship. They want to talk about these topics. They don't want to hide from them, and they will find a way to do so, whether
Yeah,
or not you
that's so
censor
true.
them.
Anyone will.
All right, everybody, we're gonna go to your chat. So smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Get yo super chats and Rumble rants in now. We're gonna read some of yours, and don't forget. We got that members-only call-in show at 10 o'clock at rumble.com/Timcast IRL, where Timcast members on the Discord are going to call in, talk to us and our guest. Don't miss out. Let's see what y'all got to say. Grab some of your rants. Shane H. Wilder says, from your segment on Joe Rogan, it must be noted that Father Georges how do you pronounce that? Lemaitre first proposed the Big Bang to theorize how God created the universe. It was lauded by Pope Pius XII and Pope John Paul II, etc. You see, Joe Rogan said, if it comes to the Big Bang, I'm sticking with Jesus. Jesus just makes more sense.
Incredible.
Sometimes people come back to life. He wasn't saying that he is Christian.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying that when he hears those two stories, one miracle is nuts. The universe was in the head of a pin and then exploded and everything just was. And Jesus is a story of a guy who came back to life. And it's like, you don't even need to believe in miracles if you want to take a secular view of that. Sometimes people die and they get resuscitated. So he's not saying it was a miracle that Jesus was resurrected or anything. But interesting segment nonetheless. Alpha 2 Omega says, first, howdy people. I just watched the live Culture War show today. The guest diss so bad. I wish someone had asked him the breakfast question. Yeah. No point in wasting time with an NPC. I thought it was fun, though. That's what you're going to get with liberals. The next one we're planning in about a month. I'm hoping we can get this set up. It's liberal versus conservative trivia.
Oh, fun.
Who do you think's going to win?
According to who?
We know.
What do you mean?
Like, who's judging?
It's a trivia question. You
Oh,
get it right or get it
facts?
wrong.
Oh, conservative.
It is going to be contestant selection, obviously, if we pick a bad lib who's not well-read or well-versed. However, that being said, I don't think you can be a modern colloquial liberal, as we call it, left tribal, if you actually know the truth, unless you're just lying. The problem then is, if you're asked a fact-based question and you choose to lie, you will lose. Mm-hmm. That's the point of doing the, we'll see. There's going to be questions like, first one will just be about Abrego Garcia, In what year was Abrego Garcia adjudicated to be a member of MS-13? Learn about it's a trick question. He wasn't. Wrong.
Oh.
2019 by judge, and then we just have the panel of judges, and
Wow.
we'll show this on the screen, the document saying he was. And they'll go, that's not fair. And I'll be like, the court said he was. We are not asserting that he was or wasn't. We said, when did a court adjudicate that he was? So that's your hint, liberals. It's not about your or my opinion. Did a court say he was? Did a judge say he was?
I love that.
Yes, that's all that matters.
You could do
When
like
was he
street style
adjudicated?
interviews like that and like debunk the narratives.
Well, they're going to argue that he was never found to be a member. The evidence was no good. We didn't ask whether the evidence are good or not.
Right.
Good or not. We asked whether he was adjudicated as. And two different judges said yes. It's not an opinion. That factually happened.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Indeed. All right. Joseph Metzo says, you're understating the tariffs. 10% of the new ones on everything, 20 for fentanyl and 25 for steel and aluminum, 100% on EVs from CHIPS Act. The tariffs before Trump were 7.25 to 27.5. Indeed. Indeed. Let's see what we got over here. All right. Quantum Strange Cork says, why are Democrats so upset about the country being gifted a new Air Force One? Did they forget that France donated the Statue of Liberty to the USA too?
Oh my God. I did not just compare them.
Because I'll tell you why I think Trump should say no. One, Trump should not be accepting gifts from foreign governments. Imagine if Israel had purchased them an Air Force One. No, we don't want to be involved in that. We don't want to show favoritism. And more importantly, I don't want the president I voted for flying on a foreign constructed, I'm not saying it's a foreign paid vehicle, okay? American made, American paid Trump's team is going to secure it, make sure everything's working properly. I don't trust foreign governments to assist in any way with building vehicles for the president.
I thought you're not allowed to receive gifts.
Well, so essentially the argument or what the narrative that I heard is that it's actually not going to Donald Trump. It's going to the Air Force. And the reason is because Boeing, he initially tried to get Boeing to redo Air Force One or to build two more Air Force One jets in his first presidency, and they started, but they're not going to be able to finish them by the end of his second presidency. So irresponsible. But that's the whole point. The problem is Boeing's not able to deliver on what the government needs or what the government wants. So the problem, I don't know the details of why Boeing can't, but clearly it's an issue of red tape and of policy at Boeing, and they're not following through.
I'm not asking Boeing to build anything right now.
Look, I'm not either.
The space thing was
that's so pathetic on our end.
He actually sent Musk, if I understand correctly, he sent Musk to Boeing to try and help get rid of the unnecessary issues.
I'm sure they like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. But
goodness.
Yeah, the problem it's not that it's just a gift. The reason is he needs to get an updated plane. And
hey, your country is incompetent. Take ours, basically.
It sounds villainous.
You guys suck.
But it's not going to Donald Trump. I personally don't think it's a good idea either. They shouldn't take it. But I just
feel like by the time they secure it, it'll take probably the same time as ours to be ready.
I don't think so. I think.
Or will it ever even be secure? I don't know. I don't
know.
Would not.
I don't know. But I don't think that Boeing is handling their business.
Indeed. Gonfall says the Tim Pool sorting beanie will tell you your true political affiliation. Gryffindor right, Hufflepuff center, or Slytherin left.
Wait, which one's right?
Gryffindor.
I always liked Hufflepuff.
My view of it is like if you were to compare the Harry Potter houses, like he's trying to do, Gryffindor would be right wing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but they're like mainstream conservatives, and then Slytherin was the groypers.
Yeah, that's good.
Hufflepuff is like the weird hippie Ian people.
Yeah.
Like Ian sounds like Hufflepuff, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Hufflepuff.
Looks like Hufflepuff.
Ian's probably watching at home being like, yeah.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, but I think this is related to over the weekend, the woke right drama. These people are smarmy, deceptive scumbags. They're playing semantic games. They are woke, and I call them the woke right. So here's the gist of it. People like James Lindsay. Here's what I think about James. He sacrificed his career to call out woke academia, this cult-like psychotic nonsense. It's illogical. Critical theory doesn't make sense. They say 2 + 2 = 5. None of it makes sense. And he called him out, and he lost his career because of it. He can't work in academia. But he was also irrelevant to the right. Who cares about a former academic liberal guy? So he wasn't getting any traction. He's got family issues.
James Lindsay.
Yeah, now he's like, please let me back in. I can't do this. Apparently, people are saying he did an interview with the New York Times. He's trying to get back into mainstream liberal space. So he tried doing this thing where he said Christian nationalism is an op, where he attacked Christian nationalists. That does not mean Groyper. That's a different group, but there is some overlap with them. That failed. Nobody cared. He spam blasted it, pissed a bunch of people off because it was irritating and incoherent. And so he started getting people started saying, bro, you're nuts. He then started getting into it with people like Carl Benjamin, ultimately fizzled out, lost all relevance, and burned himself out. So now he's trying to do this thing called woke right, where he said Dave Smith, an anti-war libertarian, is woke. That makes literally no sense. Candace Owens, Aaron McIntyre, even Matt Walsh is now being called woke right. Literally makes no sense. None of it is totally incoherent. What they're doing is they're creating a blanket term for anyone on the right that is outside of like Con Inc. And then what they did was, at first they said it's because they're acting like they're woke, tried to create some criteria that was incoherent. They're trying to, this is what they did with alt-right. They said, they used the term alt-right to describe anybody who is just not a traditional conservative, tricked a bunch of people into thinking alt-right meant new right, and then at the last minute, or not the last minute, but later on, publicly declared on the AP, alt-right means white nationalist. So all the people who had called themselves alt-right had retroactively just applied to themselves white nationalist. There were people who were told alt-right meant like populist, anti-establishment. They put it in their Twitter profiles. They said that they were alt-right. They tweeted this. 5 months later, AP says, by the way, alt-right means white nationalist. And then all of a sudden, all of those tweets, all of those posts got highlighted by hate groups and other organizations saying these people have admitted they're white nationalists. That's what you've now got with James Lindsay, Colin Wright, Seth Dillon, many other individuals that have jumped on this bandwagon to label disparate political ideologies as one faction. The ADL has something called the heat map. It is hate, extremism, anti-Semitism, and terror. They say that right-wing means white supremacist, right-wing means anti-government, and right-wing means all other. What? White supremacists and anarchists, anti-government people, there's no overlap there. Like, maybe there's an anarchist white supremacist. That's a different overlap. But the idea of an anarcho-capitalist, anti-government guy being the same thing as a white, this is what the woke do all the time. So here's why I describe these people, James Lindsay, as woke right. He is woke. What is woke? Cult-like adherence to the liberal social orthodoxy. That's why they're anti-military industrial complex, but pro-war. If it's the right war, makes no sense. Mm-hmm. This is why they say women with a Y, we mix in with an X at different times. There is no coherent logic to it. That's why it changes from time to time. And I would say it's liberal. It's cult-like adherence to an ever-changing social orthodoxy. The reason why a lot of people refer to critical race theory as woke is because it is a dominant idea floating among woke people, but that could come and go. This critical race stuff wasn't, in the early days of woke, we called it intersectional feminism. It changed over time, but the cult, like the Me Too is a big component of it. Now Me Too isn't really relevant to what it means to be woke. Yeah. Woke people fly Ukrainian flags. How does that make sense? What does that have to do with critical race theory? Nothing. Mm-hmm. So right now, what we're seeing, this phenomenon, with largely started by James Lindsay, but adopted by people like the Babylon Bee, Seth Dillon, who these people won't stop talking about it. They are applying this phrase, woke right, to anybody, seemingly making no sense. Like, how does Dave Smith and Nick Fuentes have an overlap?
If you're a dissident.
Dave Smith's an anti-war libertarian Jewish guy and comedian. That's it. Mm-hmm. Nick Fuentes is a groiper. There's already words used to describe their political ideologies. So what happens now is these former liberals, I should say they're current liberals, they were upset over the woke cult bringing in ideas like gender theory and race theory. They said this will destroy liberalism and it will destroy our political faction. Stop doing it. Mm-hmm. But they were overpowered. So what did they do? They adopted right-wing talking points. Even some of them voted for Trump. That is to say, they are liberals who never disagreed with the tactics, but they disagreed, I should say, with the overt strategy, but they disagreed with the particular ideologies that were brought into the fold of liberalism because it was destructive. So they created a coalition with the populist right. And now that critical race theory and critical gender theory are largely being curtailed, light bulb, we now need to reestablish control over the liberal orthodoxy. How do we do that? Punish anyone outside of our space. First, draw the battle lines. If you're to the right of Con Inc., you are now woke right. That's the phrase we're going to use to describe you. Here's how I say it. They are woke people who adopted right-wing talking points so that they could control the liberal orthodoxy the way they wanted it to be. The best way to understand this is Dave Smith and Nick Fuentes have nothing in common, except they're critical of the war in Israel in different ways. Candace Owens, she does celebrity gossip, as well as she's critical of Israel. Aaron McIntyre, he's like a civic nationalist. Mike Cernovich, Matt Walsh, these are like run-of-the-mill conservatives. They have started to label everybody because this is what the woke has always done. Create a term to describe your enemies, attack the perceived enemies, lie about what they believe. Another example is Colin Wright falsely framed my argument, claimed in a post that I said liberals in general are woke adjacent, never said that, and then showed past tweets of mine where I said I was a liberal. And then this is what the woke people do. They deceive and lie to get power because cult-like adherence to their orthodoxy is what makes their political faction. I consider myself to be somewhat socially liberal, even economically liberal, and then conservative in some ways. Maybe family stuff. Liberals used to be for that. I don't see how being a liberal precludes family stuff, but I digress. So I'm not opposed to liberalism, but it is completely illiberal to lie about the political beliefs of of entire groups of different ideologies to attack them as one. The fact that they are lying to steal political power and trick disaffected liberals into marching in lockstep with their liberal orthodoxy is wokeness. And I can describe it another simple way. When Donald Trump won the first time, I said, I'm not a fan of him. I don't like the way he behaves. It's a lack of decorum. However, liberals, stop making me defend Trump. They say, did you know that Donald Trump called Nazis very fine people? No, he didn't. Why are you defending him? I'm not. I'm telling you the truth. Mm-hmm. That's where we're at now. These people who are trying to push this op against all conservatives and gatekeep are saying, Tim's, you claimed he was a liberal, but now he loves Trump so much. No, I just hate you for lying and accusing people of something they're not doing and creating fake reasons to rally people against the populist coalition. These are smarmy scumbag liars. That I get really heated on this because I'll tell you, the one thing I hate the most in everything, when the media lies, when the left lies, and if the right lies, I'll call them liars.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've got these disaffected liberal types now trying to lie to steal political power, to shore up their control over liberal orthodoxy, this is what these people do. They are woke. They just don't like the tenets that were brought in by progressives. They would gladly have you fired from your job. They would gladly have all of these things, these bad things happen to you, but they just want it under their terms, and they're going to cut everybody out. That's the game that's being played. I think they're looking at like the liberal side of things has crumbled because of these critical theories. How do we reestablish the liberal orthodoxy so that it adheres to a moderate concept? Okay, they're lying about people, falsely accusing them of things they never said. That's the game. That's the game. And you are going to end up, you already are. What we're already seeing is disaffected liberals who voted for Trump now believing the false narratives being pushed by these people. It's smarmy scumbag BS. I digress. Back to
Wait,
Super
don't
Chats.
digress, because I have a comment and a question for you. My comment is, it's very telling that if you feel the need to label yourself with something politically, that's already giving like cult-like symptoms. Secondly, I think just given the last 4 years, it's been very transparent as to what characteristics the woke left have. But what specific characteristics would you say the woke right have? Because some people just like can't tell the difference. Like you said, I've been guilty of it too, by the way. If people come off too anti-Israel, I'm like, oh, they're woke right. And then I'll be like, they're not woke right. They're just like anti-Israel and anti-Semitic sometimes.
And so the problem then is James Lindsay came out and said that their actual goal is to attack conservatism. They use the anti-Israel stuff of like Nick Fuentes to then make liberals go, oh, I don't like that guy. He's bad. He's woke right. Then they lean and go, Dave Smith's also woke right. And they go, really? Like Nick Fuentes? Whoa. And then they go, Matt Walsh too. And they go, whoa, Matt Walsh? Wow, they're all woke right. It's like, what? Matt Walsh works for the Daily Wire.
On what basis are they woke right?
There's none. It's incoherent.
A nebulous term.
It's what characteristics would you say like, boom, 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 you're woke right?
Woke right actually means, to me, if you are a woke person, cult-like adherence to the liberal orthodoxy, who has tried using right-wing talking points to maintain control. Woke right is James Lindsay. Woke right is Colin Wright and Seth Dillon. These are people, and Seth Dillon's more of a conservative, don't get me wrong, but these are people.
We're talking Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee.
Yes. He is going hard on this all day, because what they're doing is they're lying about the views of people to create a liberal orthodoxy that they want. That's what woke always was. People misplaced this because in the past few years, we saw critical race theory. Go back 10 years to Gamergate, and you're not going to see the exact same things. You see some of it, but it was largely based on women. And the Me Too movement also was about sexual assault. The cult adhered to these things, canceled people over them. It wasn't always about race. It was just about adhering to the liberal orthodoxy. So now you've got this cohort of people on X who are spam blasting that random disparate right-wing ideologies are actually all one ideology, woke right, and that is completely meaningless. What does Dave Smith have in common with Nick Fuentes?
They're both anti-Israel.
Is Dave the same kind of anti-Israel as Nick Fuentes?
No.
Not
Nick,
at all.
Like, definitely hates Jews.
Right. And Dave is concerned about war. And if outside of the war thing, he's going to be like, then we shouldn't fund Israel, but he's not going to, that's about far it goes. What about Mike Cernovich?
Can't figure him out.
I
see his tweets. Sometimes I like his tweets and I'm like, oh my God, who wrote this? I look at the tweet before the person. I'm like, wow, what a great take. And I'm like, oh, it's Mike. And the next time, I'm like, oh, what a disgusting take. I'm like, oh, it's Mike. And I'm like, wait, how do I, like, how is
Remember how we got angry that woke people called everybody white supremacists?
the woke left?
The woke left.
Yeah.
Everybody's a white supremacist.
Right.
That's exactly what these liberals are doing with the phrase woke right, which is actually them. They are woke, but they are the right side of woke, trying to adopt populist talking points related to Trump to trick the disaffected. It's really simple. People like me left. We said the liberals have gone nuts. They've adopted these weird ideas like critical race theory, but liberalism itself ain't bad.
Right.
These people said, hey, we lost people like Tim Pool. How do we get them back? We need to reestablish the cult-like adherence to the orthodoxy, but get rid of the ideas that force them out. They lie to do it. They accuse people of being white supremacists and anti-Semites in order to do it. So what happens at first is they go woke right, like Nick Fuentes. And I said, oh, you're saying he's like a collectivist and identitarian. Is that what you're saying? I don't think that defines woke because it doesn't explain like support for Ukraine, but I get your point. Then they went, Matt Walsh too. And I was like, what? Dave Smith, huh? Aaron McIntyre. You're just naming random conservatives and right-aligned people. And then I got pissed because now they're taking things I said out of context and they're lying about things I say, trying to do the same thing. They're just attacking anybody who's not aligned with their cult view of what liberalism should be and calling them a name. Let's read some more super chats. All right. Ramtech says, Phil, you can take the U.S. citizenship test in Spanish for those who don't know English.
Shame.
And I just mentioned that we should be more proficient in English, and this is what they do.
Neglectful Sausage says,
Neglectful sausage.
Trump's South African refugee move was genius and wise. Everyone is showing themselves to be anti-white racists they are now. They aren't real refugees because white. And even churches taken over by woke are refusing to help. Seriously.
Episcopalian Church is a captured church.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many Episcopalian churches that are covered in rainbow flags.
Yeah, the Episcopalian Church is, they accept women as pastors, right?
Yep.
That was the woman that was giving Trump the what for. She was giving him crap.
She was probably Episcopalian, yeah.
Oh my God, I saw a church in Manhattan with a trans flag on it.
Yeah.
Like,
heresy.
Yeah, God didn't get it right. God gave you the wrong body.
God makes no mistakes, but with you he might have. We'll make an exception to our rule.
The Onion Dip says, Alex Jones is right. I don't even know who you are, lady.
Oh my God, I'm so insulted. Onion dip.
Alex Jones went on Joe Rogan and said that there are chimeras being created and that 5G was mutating people and there's interdimensional beings and all of that
He's
stuff.
like, look, man.
I don't
Come
see
on.
the problem.
Come on. However, Alex Jones also accurately called out the invasion of Ukraine, I think like 5 months before it happened. That's why we have the Alex Jones was right jar, because sometimes he says crazy things. Sometimes he predicts things that we're like, wow. It's almost like Ian rolling a 1 or 20, but the truth is Alex rolls a bit more 20s, but he does have his ones sometimes.
You know, it's the most frustrating when someone's not always wrong. Like Kanye West, you could say he's a nut and he went off the deep end. But I hate when somebody like Candace Owens, for example, was somebody that I used to look up to so much, but then she'll have such crazy conspiracy theories that I'm like, now even when you're right, I don't want to give you the credit because you're so unhinged, but you make good points sometimes. Even Andrew Tate. I used to love Andrew Tate. And now I'm like, ew, you're disgusting.
I don't think that Ye went crazy.
So what is this?
He's trying to attack the structure, the system.
So you don't think he's like missing meds?
He's not crazy.
I don't think he's crazy.
I think he's
because
so insane. I think he
have you ever met him?
Seems that way to you.
Like I never spoke to him, but I've been
in person.
in the
He
room.
acts completely differently. We filmed it. You were there, right? Yeah. He was for an hour. He's talking like this, like, you know, here's what I'm thinking. You know, I'm gonna run. And
what if he's bipolar? What if he's like that, and then he closes the door and he's a nut
So
job?
that was a misdiagnosis.
Yeah, when the camera turns on is when his bipolar starts, right? I don't buy it.
I mean,
Here's what I think.
I've seen him on camera unhinged as well. I think we all
On
have.
camera, he's always unhinged. Off camera, he's totally
you're saying
normal.
off camera he's
Yes.
normal.
He was at our studio before the show started, talking like this. He said, you know, it's really interesting what we're seeing with Trump, you know, and it's really interesting about this SpaceX stuff. That's how I was talking. And then he's sitting in the chair and we're talking to him, and he's like, yeah, hey, right before the show, he looks at Milo. What do you think about Mike Pence? You know, do you think Trump trusts him? And Milo's like, well, you know, Pence. Camera turns on and he goes, y'all saying, man, like, oh man, no, I don't. And I was just like, whoa, what just happened to this guy? He was fake. He had a jet waiting for him. He was planning on storming off.
The thing
he did
that's interesting about him though is he thinks he's the greatest and smartest, but he also doesn't think he is. That's why he is always collaborating with people that he thinks are very talented. Like he'll have a Milo around or have, Boney
You
there
can't be
around.
that normal if you tweet the things that you tweet. Like I sucked off my cousin at 8 years old.
Absolutely. You don't understand
you
how
can't
he,
be
you
normal
don't
and
understand his
tweet that.
Twitter. It's in the song.
So here's what I think happened. He's obviously there's that weird stuff with like the Pasternak guy or whatever that was all about.
Really, yeah.
There's weird stuff related to that. He gets into it with Kim. He loses his kids. He gets his bank account frozen. The people who are coming after him, the people who are causing him problems, happen to be Jewish. The people who are on the labels, the people who are cutting his business deals. And so what he then says is, these guys who are causing me problems are all Jewish. I am going to try and hurt them in the most vile way that I can.
Wait, can I play a video? This is my favorite video.
Is it
ever. This video, I have it like on bookmark on X. Wait, ready? Hold on.
So I'm envious of the Jewish people. I'm envious of how they don't abort their children. I'm envious of how they don't shoot each other in the streets and then rap about it. I'm envious of how their families stay together. I'm envious that they turn their phones off on Friday night and the family comes together. I'm envious of how they do the business together.
And that's the truth.
So my point is, the reason why he makes this song is because he's trying to slight specific individuals.
No, for sure.
And he's using the Nazi thing as the most offensive thing he can do. So
I love that he used it because they also killed black people. So I'm like, you just look even more dumb.
But
it's us.
It's all personal. It's all personal. It's like probably 3 or 4 guys in the industry that screwed him over. And so he said, I'm going to use my 33 million follower voice to amplify what hurts you the most. I think it's personal. We're going to go to the members only Uncensored show, my friends. So smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. It's rumble.com/Timcast IRL. You don't want to miss it. Use promo code TIM10. You'll get $10 off your annual membership, and it's going to be fun. Not so family friendly. You want to shout anything out?
Thanks for joining.
Where can they find you on X?
On X, my handle is Emily R. Austin. On Instagram, it's Emily.Austin. And if you have TikTok, which I'm severely shadow banned on, it's also Emily R. Austin. And that's all, folks.
I was banned off TikTok for talking about Heil Hitler yesterday. Because it's this summer's Call Me Maybe. I am Shane Cashman.
No.
The show is Inverted World Live. Right now, we're Sundays at 6 p.m. on Rumble and YouTube. And you can find me there. Phil.
I'm Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. Our new record dropped on January 31st. It's called Anti-Fragile. You can check it out on YouTube, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, and Deezer. Don't forget the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all over at rumble.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out.